All right. Enough of that. Technical problems, all caused by Jez Corden. What is going on? Well, we'll get to it. Okay, it wasn't my fault. This was all Jez's fault. First off, what is going on? What is going on, everybody? Xbox 2 podcast is now live for the second time, apparently, because nobody could hear us. Which that was expected because you weren't supposed to see because I was doing things behind the scenes. Totally forgot I was already streaming. So it's not my fault, it's Jez's fault. But I'm Randall Thor 19, the man with the million. And we got a great episode, a very spicy episode, probably, of the Xbox 2 podcast here on not September 30th, October 7th, the beginning of spooky season. And with me, the spookiest guy on Twitter with the spookiest Overwatch 2 gameplay that you've ever seen. So now you can now everybody can finally see just how good Jez Corden is at the game he plays every single day while we do this podcast. Jez Corden, Windows Central, managing editor, senior dude, always leaving stuff to the absolute last second. Jez Corden, Windows Central. What's going on, man? It's your fault. It's all your fault.
Throwing shade, bro.
It's your fault, bro. I will not take responsibility for this.
Yeah, I need to apologize for the gameplay because never played the new hero, so a lot of it's just the new hero and learning how to play and not doing a particularly great job of it. So I apologize in advance for the gameplay. But that was voted for by the Patreon, so I should have played something else probably. But oh well, we got it in there in the end. And Sonic Chief said Dark Rand calls Jez out. We've got loads of Dark Rand lately. We're on a dark Rand arc right now in this gaming world. Non-stop calling out Sony, trolling people, just being mean to Jez. Man, what has happened to Rand, guys? This is dark times in the Xbox 2 world. Is Rand our troll now? But anyway, yeah, I'm here. We're live. We're rocking out with our... No, I'm not going to say. But yeah. It's Friday, and I've got some rum, so I'm chilling and having fun with my rum.
You
sitting
have...
at my bum.
Yes. So...
Rapping too, apparently.
Yes. Well, this episode, Jez, by the way, is sponsored by Manscaped. So you came up with a very creative ad read here, code XB2. Why don't you let the people know all about Manscaped this month?
Let's talk about Manscaped, because Rand, that's right. We are once again sponsored by Manscaped. And Rand, Dead Space, sure is scary, but the last thing you need is to be hairy this Halloween.
You definitely don't want to be that. You don't want to be hairy. That's true.
Don't want to be hairy.
Very true.
Luckily, our friends at Manscaped launched their 4th generation performance package to make sure your pumpkins get the ultimate carving experience on this spooky day. Turn your bite-sized treat into a king-sized candy and join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off, free shipping with the code XB2. Make the right call this spooky season. It's trick or trim, baby. So yeah, it's Manscaped. Razors, boxes, cologne, everything you need to have scrumptious apples this spooky season. Are you gonna have nice scrumptious pumpkins this spooky season, Rand? You got any pumpkins on the go?
I don't know. I don't think we're doing pumpkins no more, you know?
Well, what? Why not?
What?
Why not? I've got a little pumpkin. Nah. And Germans don't even know that Halloween's a thing. Halloween is literally not a thing in Germany. It's not a thing. So I have to get this I got this tiny little pumpkin, this sad little pumpkin, just to bring a bit of Anglocentrism into proceedings.
Yeah. So thank you to Manscaped for once again sponsoring the show. And I'm kind of catching up on chat here. Man, people were roasting us for what happened earlier, which let me explain, because the show also is kind of fueled by our Patrons. our awesome, amazing patrons that you can join to over at patreon.com/XB2. Link is in the description. We might be doing the exclusive podcast this upcoming Tuesday. We might actually be doing 2 this month. We might do 2 1 month and then 1 the next month.
I think
no,
I
we're
think
not.
we are doing 2.
Okay,
we did a vote.
Okay, well then we do 2. Yeah, so
we are doing 2.
make sure you guys. So here's what happened. Right, one of the perks of the Patreon tier is to get your name, in the credits, essentially scrolling throughout the video. Normally, the last couple weeks, Jez has given me the names to add to the ticker. The day before, so it gives me time to, crop it, make it look all nice, whatever. I don't deal with this stuff, so it's just like whatever. Jez hops into the call at 2:05, 5 minutes before we're supposed to start. I'm already streaming, right? Because I had the music playing for you guys. Everything's going good. We're waiting. We're about to go live. And Jez is like, mate. Hey, mate. Bro, mate. And I'm like, what? What's going on? He's like, you got to add the names, mate. I'm like, what? Jez, we're about to go live. If I'm going to add these names, they're gonna screw up the ticker. He's like, mate, you got to do it, bro. And I'm like, okay, so I switched it over to where the ticker is, and obviously that showed you guys the gameplay of what we're going to do because I'm already streaming, and we're muted because I always mute, but so you don't hear us talking. We're always talking about, things, Jez telling leaks. We're talking about certain things. It's things we can't share, which is why I'm muted, right? So as I'm going through adding these names, Jez is just kind of like, come on, mate. Like, why is it taking so long, mate? And I'm like, I had this stuff, and this ticker's going to get screwed up. And sure enough, it did, because now the names look like they're coming off the side of the screen. And this all could have been avoided. If Jez would have just given me the names yesterday, I could have added them. But no, he had to, wait to the very last second, like he always does for this stuff. Always.
Look, busy guy, all right? A busy guy. I'm trying to play Overwatch. You expect me to come here right on a million hours early?
Yeah, at least at 1:45, like I do. I'm here at least. I gotta set everything up. I gotta make the title and set up all the YouTube stuff in the back end and set up all the topics. And here comes Jez just strolling in with his glasses on and his drink in his hand, being like, "Everything's set up for me. Okay, interviewer, do you have your questions for me this week?" But yeah, okay. Thanks for putting the wrench in the bucket. So everybody, let's get blame Jez. Let's get you know what I mean. Let's get a blame Jez going on in chat. It was his fault this week. It's blame Jez. I don't know, wrench in the whatever the saying is. So you got me all
wrench
confused.
In the bucket?
Whatever, I don't know.
Wrench
you got me
in the bucket? I was like, what kind of esoteric idiom is this? Brands whacking out here. Wrench in the bucket?
You got me confused. Okay, not normally I just want to have everything set and ready to go, and then you throw this monkey wrench into everything, and now I'm doing all these different things. You know what? You screwed. This is your fault. Okay.
Well, Rand, I apologize for throwing a wrench in the bucket.
Shut up.
Oh, wrench in the bucket.
Either way. So we got to give a big shout out to our Patreon producer. He is Achievement. He's a great guy. Doesn't have a podcast he wanted to promote. Just wants us to tell everybody that he is very active on Twitter and that he loves all gaming, man. Loves all the consoles. And he also wanted to give a shout out to Sean Labrie for making his Twitter avatar, which Sean Labrie is amazing. So if you guys need any stuff from him, always hit him up. He pretty much does everything for Xbox 2. And link to Achievement's Twitter if you want to give him a follow is in the description. And really quickly, we got to give a shout out to the Xbox 2 MVPs. We got Eric L., Eric Gregory, Elijah Vasquez, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. I suck at speaking. I'm sorry. Jez has got me off my game with that freaking wrench into the bucket. Jacob Larson, James Moore, Matt Salinas, Catriox, Ricky Fellon, Nerdy Meathead, Bright Tundra 1, Jasper Shap, Joseph Campbell, Discarded Caboose, Xbox International, Justin Duel, Frank Mariana, Pro Bro King, Justin Miller, Asa T, and Madison G. Hollerman, Untidy Tim, Grizzly, Mofo OG, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Justin Sigo, Andrew Courtney, Woogerman, Achievement, The Scarecrow 121, Darren Torpy, Prof JJJ, Butterball, Ghost Face Killer, Wolf Gang KPZ, and Ralph Wiggum. So thank you, all the Xbox MVPs. I believe that's the tier. So thank you guys, the wonderful Patrons, to help support the show. We should have an exclusive show next week, and yeah, everything's done. So we can go on to the gaming topics. We can finally get everything back on track, because I'm a little bit shaken. I'm a little bit shaken, not stirred right now, for all the stuff that Jez has done to me today. So
all the wrenches in buckets.
Yeah, all the wrenches and buckets. So I see there's a couple super chats here. Let me get to them. KS Mice says, no sound, buddy. Maybe Brazil sounds should just say sound Sony. Ooh. That's a good one. That's a good one, because it's very topical. It's very topical. You just gotta pour one out for poor PlayStation and Jim Flying Ryan.
Brazil's short for a wrench in Sony's bucket.
Shut up. Tika says, what up, Rand Jez? We can't hear you. Yes, we got super chats for being like people who are in like, we can't hear anything. Jackal, lying, crying, silence, Rand's podcast. Jim Ryan at it again, I guess. Well, actually, it was Jez this time, but yeah. Artemis, I don't think like this podcast giving its audience the silent treatment. We didn't mean it, I didn't even realize at the time when I was trying to add the names that I was already streaming so people could see it, and it was muted. So yeah. Logic Bomb says, do you think Sony is just disputing the ABK deal to gather up enough money to buy a bigger company like Capcom or Square before Xbox does? Nipple butt. No, I think Sony's trying for Hail Mary to just make sure the deal's blocked, and or to get a longer deal in general, instead of 3 years, to get like maybe an 8-year or 10-year deal, that the governments would have to, being like, oh no, you have to give Call of Duty for this reasons. I don't think it's to just have more money to buy stuff. Supernova with the, I guess those are some eye emojis and some ear emojis. I don't know what that means. I guess I'm a boomer. I don't know anything. Everybody's blaming Jez and Chad as I'm scrolling through it. Of course, it's all Jez's fault.
That's mean.
Yeah.
No, I've got a wrench in my bucket.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly. That's the theme of the podcast this week. The wrench in the bucket.
The wrench in the bucket. So, yeah. Let's talk about quickly what we've been playing. Well, not quickly. I mean, because I already talked about this in depth before. And if you guys can do us a favor, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out the show a lot. Subscribe if you're new. We're almost on the verge of 90K. I think I'm at like 88.8, almost at 88.9. We're getting to 89. Soon it'll be 90 if I keep on putting out videos. And then sometime next year, 100K, which means, I guess, I gotta go on video for something. Maybe like one time to go on video. Maybe I'll be on video. Maybe I'll put the camera up. I'll get a camera, and then I just won't even point it at myself. So it's like, yeah, I'm on camera, but I'm not actually on camera because I never stipulated that. You know what I mean? Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not very nice.
I can get away with all that stuff because So, yeah, subscribe and all that good stuff, because we're on that journey to get to 100K, which is absolutely incredible. I never thought in a million years that I'd ever get to that point. But with that said,
I did, bro.
With that said, I've been playing more Grounded with Colt Eastwood hanging out, and he shamed me on Twitter.
Wow.
Yeah, he shamed me on Twitter because, as I said in last week about Grounded, I'm about like 40 hours in now. I didn't think I'd play this game for an hour, let alone 40 hours, and I still got more time to go in this game. Really enjoying it. A lot of fun, having a blast with Colt.
See, I'm really impressed because I always got this impression that you're kind of stubborn. And you just have, you're stubborn. You are stubborn.
Okay.
You've got a big old wrench in that big old bucket, and you won't move it. It's just stuck right in there, and it just won't, And I'm just sort of like, man, Rand won't explore out of his sort of predefined genres that he likes. He won't. If it's a survival game, he automatically dislikes it. So I'm impressed that you give Grounded a chance and discovered something that perhaps you might not have tried otherwise.
Yeah. So I mean, thank you for actually giving me a compliment, because you never do. It's always it's only Rand only plays this stuff. Rand only plays that stuff. I appreciate you. Giving compliments when it's due. Yeah. But the thing about this game that I like is because I know there's an endpoint, right? There's a story that you follow, and there's something you do at the end, and it's game over. Because this was a game that would be just going on forever, I'd have no interest, right? I'm not saying the story is like amazing at all, because it's really not, and they dull it out over periods of time. But there's a goal to work towards. Be like, okay, if I do all this stuff, eventually get this, and the game's over. At least I have an endpoint in mind. So. And it's just fun to play with Colt. I love the world, always discovering something like really interesting with how the dynamics work of you being small and then normal everyday things being absolutely huge. Like it's like so charming, but then
it's intriguing, isn't it?
So like very, evil, because you'll come across like Black Widows and stuff like that. But the thing is, Colt took a picture of my base on Twitter. So you can go over to Colt's Twitter page, you can look at my base. And like I said last week, I'm not playing this game to build shit. I'm not a builder. I'm not a very creative person either, right? I am just here to finish the game. I didn't even want to build.
You're literally a YouTuber. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and my videos aren't very creative. I'm not a creative person. I can speak, give my opinions, and I think I speak well, or I think I speak eloquently, right? I think I'm smart.
Yeah, right.
I think I have interesting opinions, and I can be a little bit charismatic at times if need be, right? I'm not creative in the sense that I can't do the stuff Colt or Dealer do. I can't make the things that they make, because I just don't have that creative part of my brain. So when we were playing Grounded, I didn't even want to build anything, because I don't even care, because I don't want to build a house as kind of creative, and I didn't want to do that. And I was just, let's just play the game. But Colt's all like, no, we got to build a 3-story triple-decker house with all these different things all over everywhere. And I'm like, bro, this is just a waste of time. Let's just go play the game. Let's just beat it. Let's just get achievements. Let's just do everything. And he's like, no, we got to have grass floors and clover ceilings. And we got to have like weed walls. We got to have armor stands. We got to have like lamp lights over here. And he's just like, I'm like, this isn't your game with your kids where you have like a 3-story mansion. Like, I don't care about any of this stuff, because after I beat the game, I'm never playing it again. I'm never playing, like, I don't care. So like, it doesn't matter that my base is basically 4 walls on dirt floor, stuff strewn everywhere, no ceiling, because that's all it needs to be. That's all it needs to be.
With this talk of like your base is a mess. It's like it's making me want to jump on and tidy up my base.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Colt basically is like, just make it a shared world, and I'll fix it up for you. While you're doing the podcast. And I'm just like, no, bro. Like, you come out here and you shame me on Twitter for my base. And the thing is, Colt built that base. I didn't build that base. Colt built it. So the fact that he's calling me out for my base when he's the one who actually built the thing. So, but he was like, oh, well, you didn't let me build it to what I want to build it. It's like, yeah, because I don't care. Like, I just want to play the game and beat it. I don't want to spend hours building something. Get out of here. So anyways.
Man, that's the point, though. Man, it is kind of interesting, though, that you say that, like, the fact that there is a story and there is a sort of, at least a perception of an end, sort of supersedes the fact that you may be not that creative. I think it's totally fine. Some people just ain't creative. Some people, like, they don't want to go through the sort of the motions of setting up their own goals and, because Minecraft is very much like that. There's no story in Minecraft really. You just sort of have to like set a goal and then set a new goal and set a new goal, and you have to sort of come up with your own ideas. Like when I play Minecraft, it's always like, okay, first I'm going to build a little house and then build my mine, and then I'm going to build a castle. Every single time I play it, it's like little house, then a castle, and then I get bored, and then I start over. That's sort of how I tend to play Minecraft. But like at least in Grounded, like there is a story that sort of helps you get over that sort of the need to be creative in some of those games, and I think that's to its credit, right? But that's one of the things that I don't really like about No Man's Sky. And I know that No Man's Sky does have a story as well, but it's sort of like, at least to begin with, it was sort of very light, and it was sort of hard to figure out what to do and where to go. And No Man's Sky got updated to 4.0 this week, and they added a bunch of more story stuff and sort of made it easier to get onboarded. So I think a lot of these survival games are starting to realize that some people don't want to create things. They don't want to build bases necessarily, but they want to experience the world and have a defined goal. And I think that's totally fine. So I'm happy that you play Grounded. I'm happy that you like it. And yeah. I need to get into it. But I keep getting pulled around by different games.
As you tend to do. And Senpai Keiju says, Rand has no imagination. No, I have an imagination. Like, when I read my books, which, by the way, I just finished The Troop. Oh, my God. I have not read this book called The Troop. It's a story about a scoutmaster with 5, 14-year-old kids on an isolated island, and some dude kind of stumbles into them, and things happen. And I'm not gonna spoil it, but I read it for spooky season, and it is one of the most fucked up books I have ever read. Like, I still am thinking of parts that happen in this book, and I think I finished it in between.
What's it called?
It's called The Troop. Right?
True.
Like, it's fucked up, and it will fuck you up. And I'm swearing, so the podcast has been demonetized, unfortunately. But I needed to get that point home, because there are still images and things that happen in that book that I am picturing in my head. Like, the first couple days I was reading it, I was getting grossed out by food and things around, like, when things would go on. Like,
that's my Twitter posts about food?
Yeah, when you would eat food. So it's like, I don't know if anybody's in chats read The Troop or whatever, but like, if you want a scary horror, more body horror, something for Halloween, man, pick that up. It was like 350 pages. I read it in a day. I couldn't put it down. Literal turn pager, but one of the most disgusting, screwed up things I've ever read before. But it was so worth it. Like, it was just,
I'm intrigued.
It's just, oh man, disgusting. But it was great though.
That sounds intriguing.
It was great.
Maybe I'll read it, because I got a Surface Duo 2 this week, and it's sort of like a folding book phone. So it's like, wow, it's like I'm actually reading a book, 3D page turning and stuff. So maybe I'll test it with that book.
So I have an imagination. I just don't really have an imagination for building things or like drawing things and stuff like that. Like, I can tell you if something looks good, right? Like when I do stuff with Colt and he makes things, I'm like, that looks great. Or if it doesn't, I'll be like, that doesn't look good. You should refine it, right? I know what looks good. I just can't create it. And it's a similar thing with Grounded. So Lucas says, is there fast travel on Grounded? I'm kind of lost. There is not. And I think, since there's a lot of back and forth where you venture out to get the materials and come back, you do that a lot in the game. And we only built the one base, so I know other people have built bigger bases, and you can like put zip lines everywhere, so you can kind of zip line to and from places, or build like auxiliary bases, so you don't have to travel so far. That's how people kind of get around the whole back and forth aspect. I didn't do that. Me and Colt are always kind of just like filling up what we need to, maxing out our inventory slots and then going home. But yeah, at this point in the game, I'm kind of like, man, I wish there was a fast travel, but I guess that would kind of defeat the purpose of the game in reality.
I I kind of like the idea of zip wires being the fast travel system. Like you have to invest in building them, and it sort of keeps you grounded in the game. Get it? See what I did there?
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. I kind of like that. The games that sort of like have as many mechanics as possible be part of the game. I kind of really into that. But yeah, I need to get back to Grounded. I played it a little bit. It's kind of tough on your own starting out because you sort of have to kind of defeat higher level mobs to get better stuff. And it's sort of like that killing that first spider with your crappy starting gear is kind of tough. And I know they added like an Orb Weaver Jr. to make it a little bit easier. I don't think that was in the game last time I played. So like there's like a mini version of the spider, I guess, but it's yeah. Grounded's awesome. But I've been playing it a little bit, but not so much. It's not as fun by yourself, I think.
The Xbox Junkie also says, speaking of Minecraft, where is the graphics pack? The ray tracing pack, right?
Rip.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's yeah, it's really funny because I read a tweet this week and I can't remember who said this. It might have been a sloth. Might have been a sloth tweet. It might have been a Benji Sales tweet. There's a lot of figures. It might have been Dom's playing as well. I can't remember who said this, but someone on Twitter said this that Mojang is about to cross 1,000 employees.
Oh, interesting.
At Microsoft.
Okay.
Which is makes them one of the biggest devs ever in the world, like single studio kind of devs. So, and it's kind of like, okay, so Mojang has 1,000 devs almost, and we still can't get ray tracing on the Xbox version. It's a little bit irritating. I don't know, because they announced it. That not only did they announce it, Rand, they announced it with fanfare. They announced it with a musical. Do you remember that? The Super Duper Graphics Pack musical? They made a whole musical for that DLC.
Vaguely.
And then they just sort of cancelled it.
Vaguely. Well, I don't know if it's canceled. It's probably still in production, but yeah. I don't know where it is. I don't know when we'll see it. Hopefully in the future. Achievement in the Super Chat says, Jez, do you have Voodoo Ranger IPAs in the UK?
Voodoo Ranger IPAs. We probably do. I don't drink IPAs or beer, and I don't drink beer.
Yeah.
I only drink spirits. So
spirits.
What's
that?
Don't know. Spirits. You know, vodka, whiskey.
Oh, so
rum.
hard liquor.
Yeah, I suppose you call it liquor, don't you, in America? Yeah, we call it spirits. You know, so vodka, whiskey, that kind of stuff. That's what I drink. I don't drink beer. I hate beer. I don't know why. I just can't drink beer. The softest kind of drink that I can drink is cider, but cider fucks me up, man. I had some really nasty hangovers on cider, so now I don't drink it. But nah, we probably do have it, but I don't know. I need to find an IPA that I actually like because I generally don't like beer. But
okay. Jeremy G says, Jim crying, flying, dance moves Ryan. That's funny. Always just adding
his
more,
name's getting longer and longer.
adding more to his name every single time something happens. It's always great. And I'm also been playing something else, another game, but can't talk about it. So, but if you want to know, you can always look at my gamer card because it is public. It is not blocked. I don't do any of that stuff because it's always important, I believe, to be open with people because there's definitely people out there who, you know, hide their shit, so to speak. So you don't really know what they're doing or how much they played or have played. So my profile, Randall Thor 19, has always been open to scrutiny. People can always check to see what I'm doing on Xbox. So you can take a look.
Haven't you ever been on an NDA though that asks you to block that shit?
Never.
It's Warner Brothers who tends to do that. Well, at least they used to. Maybe they don't.
Never. So
yeah, I've had to sign NDAs where it's like you've got to hide your Xbox Live stuff, but maybe it's not like.
Well,
that
there used to be like that in the past before they could hide the games themselves because you could be playing something and it would just say you're on the home screen or it would just say home. The Microsoft's giving them the ability to basically hide, you know, everything about the game. And then I think once that happened, like all those requirements for like, oh, you got to appear offline or you got to block your gamer tag so nobody sees it. I think that stuff all just basically went out the window, like because they just basically do it themselves. So
I should probably unlock my account then.
yeah. Anyways, so that's what I've been playing. I still got a little bit more to go on Grounded, so I'm finished. And then we got the fall onslaught with Plague Tale Requiem and Ghostbusters and Gotham Knights. Scorn's coming out soon. Modern Warfare 2, just to name a few. I'm sure there's more. Not to mention stuff in November, like I was going to say Skull and Bones, but that got delayed. Sonic Frontiers, God of War Ragnarok, which went gold today, and I cannot be more excited to play. I cannot wait to play God of War Ragnarok. You know what's funny is I made a tweet about God of War Ragnarok, and it ended up being one of my biggest tweets. Well, one of my biggest tweets ever until the next tweet after that became like the biggest tweet ever. I made some people really, really upset this week. Really upset.
Yeah, you did.
Really upset.
You did.
But here's a tip.
People how you did it.
Here's a tip.
Oh, go on.
When you send out a tweet, you just mute it. You just mute it. So you're not inundated with notifications, especially of people telling you that you're a piece of garbage and that you should die and that you're a stupid Xbot and you're a fanboy and all these certain things. Like, sure, like the video I put out yesterday, yeah, that was very dramatic headline with an amazing thumbnail that Colt made, which, sure, you could say that is also very, very fanboyish, which is exactly what I wanted, what I told Colt I wanted. But it gets the point across because I thought it was funny, but a lot of other people really didn't. So they're like, man, Rand used to be so cool and objective.
You used to be cool,
used
man.
to be like,
Cool.
never talk snap about PlayStation. And it's just like, I haven't changed. Maybe you think I've changed simply because I'm out here talking about all the dumb things Jim Ryan's saying. Like Jim Ryan's be saying some dumb shit. And Randall Thor 19's being like, I don't know, guys. I think he's saying some things that are kind of stupid. Just like the Brazilian Commission pretty much confirmed in their findings that, like, yeah, you know what? The things you're trying to tell us, yeah, we don't agree with. Right? So it's funny to see people being like, oh, you used to be like this. It's like, I've been like this forever. I don't need to put down PlayStation to make Xbox look better. And hell, most of the time, I'm probably... there was a time where we were so critical on Xbox, people didn't even want to listen to the show. Because every week it was just like, oh, what are Rand and Jez going to talk about? How are they going to, talk smack about Xbox this week, right? So, yeah, I've been a little bit more vocal on Twitter making jokes. Like I made the tweet because of the Horizon remaster, which we'll talk about later. But I was just like, as a joke, hey, you know what? I'm just going to skip God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man and just wait for the remakes. Because I literally thought that was the natural evolution of the joke, right? You go from Last of Us Remake, a 9-year-old game getting remade that looks way better, that there was already discussions about was this really needed, to talk of a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster remake of a game that already looks amazing on the PS5 with an update that is only 5 years old. So I was like, okay, well, the next natural step would be for games that haven't even released yet. God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2, two of the most anticipated games I want to play. And I'm like, you know what? I was just like, yeah, okay. The natural extension of the joke is I'm going to wait for these unreleased games to get remakes. But clearly, I underestimated people's reading comprehensions, or
people are sensitive, man.
Yeah, people are very sensitive. I mean, it's because it's been a very tough week for PlayStation, guys. It's been a very, very tough week. It hasn't been the best, so they take it out on people. But I mean, it's a funny thing is I would never skip God of War or Spider-Man. So, I like that whole tweet was just like whatever. It's funny. People want me to be more savage on Twitter. They want me to be Dark Rand or whatever. And I like to make jokes, but I'm never like serious about any of this stuff. It's just all just fun games. And anyways, I just had to talk about that. So I guess the game that you've been playing is Overwatch 2. And
Yeah.
there's been a lot of problems, Jez. I mean, that's one of the big topics of the show.
Yeah.
You know, you've been very vocal about, do we really need an Overwatch 2? Like, it kind of feels worse. Talk to me about Overwatch, because you're the scholar
I've
on
gone
this
through.
game. You're the scholar.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a scholar, Rand, because you're only a scholar if you've hit diamond rank on this game, according to some people. But I'm a casual player of Overwatch. I barely play ranked because I don't really care to get sweaty anymore. I'm too old. So I just generally play quick play most of the time, and I don't really bother trying to get ranked because it kind of sucks to play by yourself. To get like that, you need to be on comms and do it properly if you are going to do it at all. At least that's my view. But anyway, I digress. Overwatch 2, I've sort of gone through the 5 stages of grief with this game. Or is it 6 stages? I don't know. I lose count. But I sort of like, at first, I was like, the first time I tried the beta, I was like, oh my God, everything sucks. Oh my God, it's all horrible. I don't like it. They've changed everything. Oh no, I don't like it. So at first I just kind of like that, and I was angry about it. And also like some of my mains got kind of nerfed. Like they removed the tank from the game, which means like the off tank role is gone. And that's a role I used to like to play. I used to like playing off tank. But now you can only be like sort of a main tank, which is sort of, harder. A lot of responsibility. I kind of like, you could see it like when there's a crappy tank in the game or someone who's really bad at it and not doing it well, it brings the whole team down. It really, really does. So there's a lot of responsibility playing tank properly now. Whereas like arguably, as long as one of the tanks was decent, they could sort of carry the other tank to some degree. At least while playing casually. So there was that, because I like playing Wrecking Ball as an off tank. But I never see Wrecking Ball played now at all because he's just sort of not as viable as some of the other tanks. But anyway, they'll probably fix that. But now I've been playing on live all day the last couple of days. I've been playing another game as well, Rand, which I can't talk about under embargo. Another game that I'm absolutely obsessed with. Some people could probably guess what it is, but this game is just amazing. I can't put it down. I'm super happy that we're getting it. But yeah, Overwatch 2. It's grown on me. It's grown on me.
Really?
Yeah, it has. It has.
It has
a lot of problems.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that said nobody cares about Overwatch 2. But hey,
I said it.
I know you said it. The day Overwatch 2 launched, seemed like everybody in the world was trying to play it, so much so that nobody could really play it. There was long-ass queues. Supposedly they were getting DDoS attacked. That they had to take the game down yesterday to fix it. Like, there was this whole phone thing where they were getting called out for being, I don't know what the right word is, like discriminating against poor people. Because they didn't want to use like prepaid phones to be able to like all the stuff that's going on with the game. Does that like, how do you feel about it? Is this obviously isn't this, is this a typical Blizzard launch? Because I know they had problems with Diablo 3 and now you got Overwatch 2 problems. It's just kind of par for the course, right? I don't know. It's like, can they ever get one of these launches correct? I don't know.
It's Blizzard's login service, man, because it all uses the Battle.net login, right? And when a big game launches like this, everybody pours into the login servers to try and play it, and the login servers can't handle it. They're designed for sort of a peak, and that's it. They're not sort of designed for these sort of irregular events like a game launch, and they haven't been since forever. Honestly, like every single game Blizzard launches is like this. Wrath of the Lich King. For World of Warcraft, the remake of Wrath of the Lich King, or re-release, whatever you want to call it. Wrath of the Lich King Classic, that launched a couple of weeks ago as well, and it's similar problems. Like 1,000 people in the login queue, login servers being overwhelmed, and all that kind of stuff again. It's kind of par for the course with Blizzard, like you say, where they don't invest in having the login servers for these mass events. They just sort of invest in them sort of regular hours. But they've cleaned it up pretty quickly, I would say. I'm not getting queues anymore. when I try and play the game. I've been able to get into the game instantly all day. I don't know if that's just the Xbox version or if PC version is still having problems or whatever. But the console pool seems to be, at least for Xbox, seems to be okay now. I've been getting in instantly all day, at least off peak, and I logged in earlier as well, about 8 o'clock. Before I'm playing it right now, actually. But I've had some strange bugs. Like, for example, I need to contact Blizzard support because I got a code for the premium battle pass, which is supposed to come with 2,000 coins. Didn't get the coins, and so there's that issue. But some other people have had much worse issues. For example, none of their progression is carried across, or their account merge failed, and because they want you to merge the PC version of your account with your Xbox version of your account, and a lot of it's sort of messed up. There's a lot of teething problems, but honestly, I think they've fixed them pretty quickly. They did maintenance today, which seems to have improved things a lot. I saw Maka earlier was tweeting that all of his stuff is there now, which wasn't there yesterday. So it seems like things have improved for some people. And also, they did a U-turn on the whole phone situation. So if you don't know, Blizzard they added this thing called SMS Protect, which they actually have for World of Warcraft, and they've had for a long time. And basically, it's two-step verification, right? So basically, they're requiring you to have two-step verification to play Overwatch. And the benefits of having two-step verification active with a phone number is that it stops Smurf accounts, which are people who sort of like, they play at a high level and then they make a new account so they can wreck noobs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, called smurfing. But you can't do that if you've only got one phone number, right? Because you won't be able to make a new account. And also there's cheating and hacking and stuff like that. If you get banned for hacking or aimbotting and stuff like that, you won't be able to play because your phone number will be banned. So there's that too. So, but the downside, of course, is that people who use a prepaid phone number because they don't want to pay for a 12-month contract, or they can't afford to pay for a 12-month contract, that essentially locks them out of the game because Blizzard was only allowing for these sort of prepaid phone numbers, not prepaid, these sort of contract phone numbers where it's sort of like, you know, through official vendors. Like you couldn't use like I think they call it Cricket in America, where it's like you pay $20 and you get a phone number that's got like some data on it and some minutes and stuff like that. So so those people were basically locked out of the game, but they've backtracked on that now for existing users. So anyone who's played Overwatch before will be able to carry on using the Cricket phone number and stuff like that. But only new accounts will have to use SMS Protect. And I suppose that sort of like a compromise between keeping hackers banned and you know, whoever else they want to banned, and also allowing the old school player base to actually play. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. And I think Overwatch is just kind of controversial in general because it's Blizzard. And you know, Blizzard is this endlessly controversial company because of all the scandals, non-stop, whatever. A lot of people just want to see Blizzard fail, honestly. You know, if we're being completely honest, a lot of people do want to see Blizzard fail. And I think there's an element of like, even fans are kind of used to seeing Blizzard fail and screw up. So they're just kind of like expecting them to fail. And so any sort of little thing kind of ends up being blown out of proportion. But I think, like, all things considered, the game's in a good spot right now, and it's fun. I'm enjoying it a lot, way more than Halo Infinite, I should say.
Why are you bringing up Halo? Why are you bringing up Halo?
What?
What do you have to bring up Halo for?
Because I know that you like it.
All right, well, quick tangent. So Overwatch 2 is out. Seems like it's having a bunch of issues, but they are trying to mitigate it. Seems like still people do care about Overwatch, right?
It's the number 3 played game on Twitch right now, behind FIFA. FIFA, of all things.
Yeah, FIFA's the world's game, bro.
Yeah, it's absurd how popular FIFA is. But FIFA is number one. Well, the number one game, but the number one is actually just chatting.
Of course, just people love just chatting. That's what Twitch basically is. Just you just listen to people talk like us. We're just podcast.
I was gonna say, aren't we just chatting?
We're just chatting. We're just two dudes chatting with our community. You know, talking about games, talking about Xbox, having a great time. We're just chatting. So if there was a YouTube category, that's what we'd be on. We'd be just chatting. But you brought up Halo.
We're not in a bathtub though.
That is true. We're not. So before we get into the next thing, we got almost 1,200 people watching. Thank you guys for being here. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's see if we can get, 1,300 people here before the show's over, and maybe like 800 likes, 700 likes. I don't know. You mentioned Halo. You brought it up.
Likes are good.
Likes are great. You wrote an article about Halo and the rumors of the Unreal Engine. I don't know if you've been doing some more digging, if you could share some stuff. So tell us more. Have you found anything more out about the big rumor that came from Sean W., Halo YouTuber, about them maybe switching to Unreal for the Battle Royale or for, like a sequel or what have you? Like, tell us what you found out, or more info at least.
I regret that article.
Oh, you do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I regret that article. I broke a rule.
Okay.
When I wrote that article, I broke one of my rules, which was not to report on rumors unless I had
rumors and speculation. Yes.
Yeah. I generally don't. I mean, I used to, but more recently, I don't report on rumors unless I have really good evidence. Okay. Right. And I wrote in the article that I didn't have particularly good evidence. And I generally don't, because I don't like to contribute to the rumor mill, because if it isn't true, it can create unnecessary stress for the teams that are working on the game, or extra pressure and stuff like that. But this was a weird one, because I feel like I had enough sourcing that there was there was some smoke to this. So for those who don't know, the rumor is YouTuber Sean W. put out a video saying that he had evidence or good sourcing that Halo is going to switch to Unreal Engine, at least for Tatanka, and maybe the Endless as well. The Endless being the sort of rumored campaign DLC or expansion for Halo Infinite, which Microsoft trademarked last year, I think, or was it this year? Early this year. It was a long time ago now, anyway. But they sort of Sean W. said that he had evidence that they were going to move Tatanka to the Unreal Engine, and I was like, initially, I talked about it last week, but initially I was like, nah, this is bullshit, because the game's been in development for 1 million years on Slipspace. There's no way they throw away all that development time and slap it on a new engine, because that'd be a nightmare, and also it flies in the face of the original plan, which was for it to incorporate Forge and progression from Halo Infinite. So I wrote it off immediately as some sort of 4chan thing, but then I spoke to Sean W, and he showed me some pretty compelling evidence which sort of elevated the veracity of his claims. Basically, it sort of was like, oh, maybe there is something to this. So then I asked around, and then some of my sources were being kind of coy. And in the past, they'd just tell me if something was BS. And instead, they were just kind of they didn't want to say for definite, which kind of, again, added smoke. And then I spoke to a couple of other people who were just basically like, yeah, it's true. But I didn't have anything physical, and that's been my rule for the last few years, was if I don't have a document or a photograph or something to sort of back up a claim, I kind of feel like some things can be lost through translation, or when it's passed down between person to person to person, that things can get misconstrued and stuff like that. So I'm sort of 50-50 on it now. I think it could be either way, because I've heard aggressively conflicting reports on this. I've heard that, yes, it's true, they are exploring Unreal Engine for Tatanka, but I've also heard that Tatanka is still shipping builds on Slipspace right now, which is demonstrable if you look at some of the data mining stuff that's out there, because Halo Infinite's APIs are a little bit leaky, and if you data mine the right way, you can find all kinds of references to Tatanka. And Tatanka is the code name for the supposed battle royale-ish kind of mode. So, and also there was an interview where with I want to say, was it VentureBeat? I think it was VentureBeat, right? VentureBeat, they did an interview with Max Hoverman, who runs Certain Affinity, who are making Tatanka. They said in that interview, we are working on Halo Infinite. So if they're working on Halo Infinite, that would suggest that it is on Slipspace and it isn't a standalone game on Unreal Engine. So it's all sort of confusing right now. And honestly, I just wish they'd just announce it and just tell us. I don't know. I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it. It could go either way because I can see the logic for switching to Unreal Engine. If Slipspace is truly as bad as like people have told me it is, and like it's been described to me that Slipspace literally had no tools. It had no dev tools, right? So like if you are a 343 employee, maybe you can work with that. But if you're supplying the source code to a third party like Certain Affinity, and you don't have any tools, how are they going to work with the engine? You know. So maybe there's just kind of like a sort of situation where like maybe it's just better for us to skip Slipspace and go all the way to Unreal Engine. You know. So there was kind of that mentality and that argument. And also, I know Certain Affinity have internal tools for Unreal Engine. Microsoft have internal tools for Unreal Engine. Microsoft are kind of like super experienced internally with Unreal Engine. They could get like the Coalition to help out. They could like, you know, there's a bunch of solid arguments to be made why Unreal Engine might be better for them. Except the fact that they have to pay Epic Games a lot of money for the Unreal Engine. And, you know, I'm sure Microsoft can get a good deal on Unreal Engine because they use it so much. Like State of Decay 3 is going to be on Unreal Engine. And you've got like a bunch of other games.
Unreal, right?
Yeah. And,
I mean, a lot of their games are on Unreal. Yeah. A lot of them.
Yeah. They're a big purchaser of Unreal Engine. And there's like, you know, there's a political benefit there as well. You know, like maybe Epic Games will support Microsoft in court when Sony makes them go to court with this Activision deal. Maybe Epic Games will be there fighting in their corner, you know, like Microsoft fought in the corner for Epic against Apple recently. So there's that too, you know. So like maybe there is benefits to bringing Microsoft's biggest games to the Unreal Engine from a logistical, political, and just, you know, general sort of usability perspective, you know. But at the same time, there's like evidence that Tatanka is still being built on Slipspace from the APIs. So it's kind of like, I
don't know. so you basically just went through all this to tell everybody you don't know, which is how you normally end your sentences anyways. Because you always end everything with just, I don't know. So the moral of the story is Jez doesn't know. Jez doesn't know.
Well, when we've got to make a 3-hour podcast, I don't mind talking about rumors and speculation. But
sure.
I generally don't when it's for Windows Central. For Windows Central, I like to have a 100% track record, and I'd be like, yeah, this is definitely happening. This is definitely not happening. You know, I think like the only ever thing I put out there that turned out not to be accurate was Halo Wars 2 coming to Steam. Like I put that out that Halo Wars 2 was going to come to Steam because and that was me kind of extrapolating because I'd heard they're going to bring all their games to Steam, and they did. But unfortunately, Halo Wars 2 did not survive the, you know, its live service just didn't survive, so they didn't even bother bringing it to Steam. But anyway, that's the only thing I put out there. That was that demonstrably wrong, I think. So generally, when it comes to, you know, reporting on stuff like that, I don't like to report on rumors and speculation unless I know. And on this, I just don't know. I'm 50-50 on it. I want to believe, I believe that Sean W. has sources. I believe his sources. I just wonder if his sources are getting it right. Because one of the things that I didn't know about Unreal Engine, which Halo Infinite, which I discovered recently, was that Halo Infinite uses Unreal Engine for its UI. right? And I didn't know this, but Halo Infinite uses Unreal Engine for its UI, and that's because it has no tools for UI. So they have to use Unreal Engine just for the UI, which is interesting. I didn't even know that was a thing that was possible, right? So I'm wondering now is like, has someone got a crossed wire here? And is Tatanka just using Unreal Engine for the UI or something like that? So without a source from 343 or a certain affinity literally coming and telling me, yes, it's on Unreal Engine, or Microsoft literally coming out and saying, yes, it's on Unreal Engine, right now I'm 50-50 on it. I don't know. And, you know, I believe that Sean W's sources are credible, but I just honestly don't know if they're getting something wrong here. And I suppose we're at a point where time will tell.
Yeah. All right.
But I think that's where I am right now.
All right. So we don't know. That's just, at the end of the day, who knows? Flip a coin. It might be right. Who knows? We got a super chat here from Crying Jim Ryan, Jez. He says, hi, guys, with the broken heart emoji. Hi, Jim. Hope you're having a great day, bro. And you're probably not, but... Or maybe you are. Maybe you're like, it doesn't matter. I got the FTC. I got the CMA in my pocket. You know? That's where I'm strong in. Jay Primo's been a member for 27 months. Says Jim, lying, crying, dance moves, tap dancing, flying, dying, frying, Saving Private Ryan. Jeez, that's definitely a long.
Private Ryan.
That's definitely a really long one. Miguel Evers says, who's been a member for 5 months, says, I'm so sad. Starfield is going to be delayed to 29th of December. At least we got Redfall in March, right? Yeah, so I guess we should talk about that, as I have seen some people mention it. That the Steam database, SteamDB, was updated for Starfield, and they put a new date of like December 23rd, 2023, which to me is a placeholder. And the reason they changed the date is simply because if you look at the history of the changes, they still had the game coming on 11/11/2022, and it like basically crossed it out and said date's wrong, right? So they basically needed to change the date because 11/11 was coming up real soon. And they gave it a new date, which is a placeholder of December 23rd. Now, I'm not saying that Starfield won't get delayed to the end of the year. I think that's certainly a possibility, maybe even a 50-50. But I'm still of the opinion, and I still think it'll be coming early, like in the first 6 months, the first half of next year. We hear a rumor by I believe a YouTuber yesterday that according to his sources, and it looks like he has Bethesda sources, so you might want to hit him up, Jez, to see if you can get any of them, because that's the one you lack. That Redfall will be launching end of March, essentially, with like a 1 week early access to pre-orders or deluxe edition content. Now, I think that makes a lot of sense. January really didn't make a lot of sense to me. February's already packed to the gills. I always thought Redfall would be the February-March area. And so having the game come out in March does make a lot of sense to me. Because the way I look at like Microsoft's first party, it's like, okay, you got Ghostwire Tokyo probably very end of March, if not first week of April. You would have Redfall somewhere in March. I was thinking Forza Motorsport would be like middle of June, like maybe like right before E3 or right after E3, because they're talking about like still polishing the game, getting when they're in early 2023, right? So you'd have like Redfall in March, you'd have Forza Motorsport in like June. I've always sort of slotted Diablo 4 in at like April. I don't know, that always kind of made the most sense to me. And I always felt like Starfield needed more time away from Redfall, right? Redfall was supposed to come out first. So to me, Starfield was always like a May release. So Redfall was always March, Starfield was May. Forza could move around, but I'm thinking Forza is like more June. But then, hey, Nintendo came out and was like, we're staking claim, bro. We got May 12th for Breath of the Wild 2. I don't even remember the name of Breath of the Wild 2. And to me, it's like, well, nobody's going to release a game around Breath of the Wild 2 because it would just get swallowed up. Although I guess you can make a sense, well, it doesn't matter because that's only on Switch and Starfield's on everything, Xbox, PC, cloud, all that stuff. But there's the thought like, okay, well, Starfield maybe can come out end of May, maybe even early June. I don't know about Minecraft Legends. Maybe that slips to second half of next year. Aura History Untold could probably come out with any time within the first 6 months, maybe April. I don't know. But so like, yeah, Redfall might be March, according to this rumor, and SteamDB saying December 23rd, but I think that's a placeholder. But at the end of the day, release dates, they're still kind of fluid with everything going on, so I wouldn't be shocked if Starfield did get a delay to the end of the year, but I'm thinking it's late May, early June, personally. So there is that. We have a comment here from Keyshawn Thompson, who's been a member for 11 months, almost a year. Says, hey guys, almost a year sub. Hope you're having a great day. We are. Here's to the best podcast on the planet. Thank you. That's not even just the best gaming podcast, but the best podcast on the planet. That's high praise. Very, very appreciative.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Achievement says in the super chat, if I want to play Dragon Age, should I start with Origins? Also, should I play on Xbox or PC? I'm sure this is a Jez question. Have you played, Rand? I played the first Dragon Age, and I didn't play any more after that. So I would imagine you should start with Origins, because it was a really good game, and Dragon Age 2 is not, at least from what people tell me. So
It is a good game. Don't believe the haters. Right. Dragon Age 2 is good. Man, it's really tough to recommend Dragon Age Origins right now, because it honestly hasn't aged that well. If there's one game EA should remake before Dead Space or anything, it's probably Dragon Age Origins. But man, I just also almost don't want them to, because I know they'll probably remove loads of content and it just wouldn't be as good. But if you can pull up with the jank and play as a mage, because the rogue and warrior just don't play well, even when it launched, in my opinion, they didn't play well. If you can put up with the jank, Dragon Age Origins is amazing. If you can adjust to it, pretend you're playing a PlayStation 2 game or something. But Dragon Age 2 plays a little better, but it's also sort of missing something. It's not as RPG-ish. It's a little bit more linear. But with the DLC, I think Dragon Age 2 actually got really good. And if you play with the combos and stuff, it can be really fun. But Dragon Age Inquisition is unarguably the best one for modern audiences. And honestly, you can play Dragon Age Inquisition without playing any of the other games. It was sort of kind of made to be a soft, not a soft reboot really, but it was designed for new players. So you can just skip straight to Dragon Age Inquisition with the DLC, and that'll give you at least 100 plus hours of fun. So yeah. But also, if you do play Dragon Age Inquisition, don't get bogged down with the side quests, because they're really unnecessary. A lot of them are. So sort of like, go here and kill 10 sheep. You don't need to do that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dragon Age is amazing, and it's sad that EA has abused it so much.
Well, we got the new one coming out eventually. So Sean Kramer says in the super chat, hello from Taiwan. Awake at 4 a.m. Damn. To watch my Mariners in the playoffs. What's the last game you guys did an all-nighter on? Like an all-nighter? Jeez.
Ooh.
All-nighter. I mean,
the thing is, I do all-nighters all the time because I have no sleep cycle.
Yeah,
my sleep cycle is just insane. So that's not a great question for me, because I literally did an all-nighter last week on the game that I can't talk about.
I know what game that is.
Yeah, you do. You know it. It's I'll give you a hint. It's a JRPG. It's coming soon.
I wonder which JRPG is coming soon to Xbox. Huh.
Yeah, and it's almost weird having an embargo for a game that's like been out for a million years. Yes. But, it's a bit strange. But yeah, I can't talk about it. But it's I'm addicted to it, and I love it, and it's amazing. And I'm really
I've done all nighters. I can't remember my last specific all nighter, but like, there were nights where I played Red Dead Redemption 2 till the early morning, or I played God of War Ragnarok till 7 a.m. The multiplayer. I think there was a couple nights we played PUBG till like 5 in the morning. It just really depends like how into something you are. So I mean, I've pulled plenty of all-nighters. I mean, like you go back to like Halo Reach and Halo 2s. Like it's usually maybe the multiplayers, but some of those epic single players where you can't get enough and you just keep on playing. So I can't distinctly remember my last time I stayed up really late. There are some times where like we pull an all, like not necessarily an all-nighter, but you'll get in a party. I remember it was like me and Cognito and Colt and Gaz and like a lot of people, and it was just like this hilarious party chat. And it was like before it was all said and done, it was like 6:00 in the morning, and everyone was like, "Holy crap, it's so late!" And I wasn't even playing anything. We were just having a blast, just telling jokes and talking in party chat. Where it was just like, "Holy crap, we just stayed up all night. Got to go to bed now." So, I can't distinctly remember the last one, but I've done my fair share of them. I've done my fair share. Achievement also says is in the super chat, why not use id Tech 7 or 8 now for Halo? Certain Affinity is experienced with Doom as well. Microsoft owns the id Tech engine now. Well, one, we don't know if they're really actually switching engines, so all this talk could just be just a bunch of BS anyways. Two, Jez says there may be possibly political reasons. Three, maybe id Tech can't do what Unreal Engine 5 could do. Maybe just more people, because there's also a sense that like Halo needs to there's a hiring problem going on in the video game industry. Unreal is one of the more common engines, and it's tough. I think one of the problems Xbox had, or 343 had, was when they would hire on these contractors, they would have to learn slipspace. So they spend all this time learning slipspace, which was by all accounts not very good. And then when their contract is up, they barely got any work done because they were struggling with slipspace. So I don't know how many people actually work on id Tech 7 or id Tech in general. So if you're trying to hire people and keep them and get as much work done as you can out of contractors before, hopefully Microsoft like lifts that, stipulation across the company. Maybe you do that because, okay, we need to get as much we can out of these people that we have, and everybody knows Unreal, so we need to go with Unreal rather than an engine we own. That could be a factor. I don't really know, because we don't even know if this is actually true. Jez is just speculating, essentially, so who knows? That's the first thing for me. It's like, I don't know if it's true. We could just be talking about this, and it could just be a bunch of BS. Well, I guess we'll find out at some point, but yeah. William says, assuming the deal closes, what is the first ABK exclusive? Interesting, because there's I'll just bring this up now because I did see it, that they're teasing the new Crash game for the Game Awards. They sent out like pizzas to influencers with like a date. It was like, oh, like the money was like $10 8 or something, and the Wampa League or whatever. So, and I've seen some people say this, because if it's being revealed at the Game Awards, the deal might be closing early next year. Jez, I mean, you've talked about this, right? It's the Crash game. We've talked about it at length on the show, but do you believe this could be an Xbox exclusive, or is a possibility it could be a time PlayStation exclusive? Like, what's the details on this one?
If we're talking about Wampa League, I don't know it as Wampa League. I know it as Project Lava, codename Lava, which is a multiplayer Crash brawler kind of thing. If we're talking about that, I'm pretty sure that's not going to be PlayStation Xbox exclusive, because all the testing has been done on PlayStation. Basically, a PlayStation game. There's even rumors that Wampa League might be launched as a PlayStation exclusive initially.
Wait, hold on. We have your number one fan, Humdrug. He says, Jez was wrong about Wampa League being revealed at the PlayStation event being PlayStation exclusive. So you're wrong, Jez. Humdrug.
Did I ever say that? I never said that.
I mean, when we were talking about possibility of where something like that could be revealed, like, I don't know, like people.
Well, that was speculation.
Yeah, people take predictions and be like, you were wrong about this. Well, yeah, it's a prediction. Like, it could be right or it might not be right. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, if that was not a leak, it was a prediction. So if you're disappointed that a prediction that is based on nothing came wrong, well, that's a you problem, mate. But yeah, I don't know for sure if Wumpa League's what they're teasing for the Game Awards. I would be surprised if it is, because I don't know. I mean, maybe it could be. I don't know what else they could be working on with regards to Crash, because like they've been testing Wumpa League for months now, with QA testers and stuff like that. And I've seen gameplay of Wumpa League as well, or whatever it's called, Project Lava, as I know it. It looks really interesting. It's sort of like it's almost like a 3D. Man, it's really hard to describe because it's not like any other game really. The closest thing is Plants vs Zombies: Garden Warfare, wherever it's called. It's sort of like a 3D brawler, not really a shooter. Although I'm sure some characters might have shooting abilities and stuff like that. Objective based, objective oriented, where you sort of like sort of similar like capture the flag kind of gameplay and that kind of thing. I don't know, but if that is what they're teasing, I wouldn't expect that to be Xbox exclusive at all. I think that's very much more likely to be a PlayStation launch exclusive, frankly. It could be. I'm personally expecting it to be multi-platform, but I do know that all of the testing has been done on PlayStation, or at least a lot of the testing has. So I only know about the PlayStation version for that game, Project Lava / Wumpa League, whatever it's called. But if it is going to be announced at the Game Awards, sort of timing fits for me. It's a smaller kind of game, I think. I've heard that it's free to play as well, so it's going up against a lot of players in the space, to be honest. So it'll be interesting to see how it resonates with fans and stuff. But yeah, I think we could see it at the Game Awards.
As to answer the question about what could be the first exclusive, assuming the deal goes through, maybe Blizzard's survival game. Maybe.
I would be surprised if any of the current slate of games they've got in development go exclusive.
Okay.
To be honest, I think Blizzard's survival game, which is codenamed Odyssey, I believe it might even just be named Odyssey. I think it actually might be named Odyssey, not just codenamed. But I think that is going to be multi-platform potentially. I think it's just sort of it's already been in development for a while, so I would be surprised if they decided to make that exclusive. But I could be wrong. It could end up being exclusive as well. I think like what's more likely to be exclusive is like sort of a brand new game that's sort of as a result of Microsoft investment. So, for example, they do like a StarCraft shooter, which is
something
Phil's
we all
hinted
want.
that something we all want, and Phil's hinted as such that he wants StarCraft to come back. They did a StarCraft shooter, and it was sort of single player PvE kind of game. I could see that being exclusive because there's no presence. StarCraft has no presence on PlayStation right now. I think didn't StarCraft 1 come to PS2 or something back in the day? Or am I going completely crazy? I don't know. As far as I'm aware, there's no presence of StarCraft on PlayStation, as far as I'm aware. So I could see that going exclusive to Xbox, but I don't think any of the current slate will go exclusive to Xbox. I don't think Diablo 5 will go exclusive to Xbox 4, sorry. I don't think that will go exclusive to Xbox. I don't think, if they did do World of Warcraft on console, which I doubt that'll go exclusive either. Although maybe, actually. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. I need some more time to think about it, really. But
yeah. What do you need to
in the
figure
foreseeable, out? In the foreseeable, I don't see anything going exclusive, frankly. I think Microsoft's probably going to make good on their sort of, promise to sort of keep bringing Blizzard games to PlayStation, because that's kind of what's expected. And all those games that sort of have a presence already, like your Overwatch. If they did an Overwatch 3, I think that would stay on PlayStation because it'd stay free to play, right? So I think that'd be on PlayStation. I could see Diablo 5 tentatively being on PlayStation as well. But like maybe StarCraft's the franchise they think like, well, we could hand this off to the coalition. Maybe this could be the exclusive. Make StarCraft exclusive, right? Because that's never really been on PlayStation, or at least not recently. But yeah, if they did like a Warcraft 4, or they did some like Warcraft action game, you know what would be sick? Where it'd actually be sick? A Warcraft Souls-like. That'd actually be sick. If they did a Warcraft Souls-like, that might be exclusive. Single-player games might be exclusive, but I can't see any multiplayer games going exclusive.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. B. Staples says, Starfield should avoid Zelda. I agree. Don't want to get Horizoned. And Ghostwire comes to Xbox late March. Resident Evil 4 Remake 2 doesn't make sense to drop Redfall there. Well, the thing is, like, you're going to have to release the games at some point, because if you don't, they're all just going to sort of, like, pile upon each other. And I think Redfall will come out when Redfall's ready to come out. If that's around Resident Evil 4, then so be it. I don't really think Ghostwire coming... Like, Xbox released Deathloop 1 week, and then Grounded 1.0 the following week. So I don't really think that, if you release Ghostwire 1 week and then the following week's a brand new Redfall, that it matters that much. Because, Ghostwire is a game that's already a year old. So if it was brand new, yes. Like, if you had a brand new Ghostwire and a brand new Redfall, absolutely, I think you stagger them. But Ghostwire is already a year old. So it's like, I think you just sort of release Redfall when it's ready to release. Sure, you want to, like, time it, have a good window. And maybe you don't want to release after Resident Evil 4, so maybe you try to go before it. But if you keep on holding things because Windows, like, you're eventually just going to run up where it's like, oh, well, here's Redfall, and here's Diablo, and oh, damn, here's like, it just, you need some sort of spacing. You don't want to, like, basically hold everything and then get stuck releasing everything at once. At least that's kind of the way I see it. The other sort of big... I mean, we got a whole bunch. We'll get to the whole Brazil approving the Activision deal and PlayStation going day and date and CD Projekt Red stuff. And but I wanted to talk a Nintendo topic, Jez.
Nintendo, your favorite topic in the world.
A Nintendo topic. Because they held a direct yesterday to showcase Mario's flat ass.
Or they did that by Nintendo Direct. I didn't know that.
Well, they did it at Direct to show the trailer for the Super Mario Brothers movie. And people were like dying for whatever reason to hear Chris Pratt's Mario voice. Like, this was like, well, outside of like being interested in a Mario movie, for some reason people were like, "Oh my god, what's Chris Pratt gonna sound like? Is he gonna sound like Chris Pratt? Is he gonna sound like what's his face from Guardians of the Galaxy? Is he gonna have an Italian accent or whatever?" Right. So the trailer came out, and I will say, beautiful trailer, like really good trailer, great animation. Right. Actually got me quite interested in watching it. Like, I'm not interested in watching a live-action Mario movie. I remember distinctly going to see Super Mario Brothers with Bob Haskins and John Leguizamo at the show and being incredibly disappointed, and thought to myself, why are they so huge with such small heads? You remember the Mario Brothers movie?
How old are you, man?
Bro, I'm old, bro. I'm just saying, do you remember? Dude, do you remember that Mario's brother?
I'm gonna shock you right now, Rand. I fucking love that movie.
Oh my, that I am, bro. We've used up all of our F words, bro. We're gonna get demonetized.
When I was a little, well, whatever. But it was worth it. It was worth it because, dude, I will die in that hill 1,000 times. The original Mario movie was good,
bro.
It was fucking good. I don't care what anyone says. The original Mario movie was awesome. You know why? It was Fallout Mario, man. It was post-apocalyptic Mario. I love that shit. I was like, oh my god, it's Mario with guns. It's awesome. I loved it. I love that movie, man. I was like,
here's the thing.
I was more confused.
I'm not
why the games weren't more like that. When I was a kid, I was thinking like, man, why couldn't the games be more like this?
I'm not saying I hated the movie. I'm saying like, I don't really need to see another live action Mario. Who was the villain? It was Dennis Hopper, right? It was Dennis Hopper. It was a villain from Speed, right? And I was
you could tell he didn't give a shit in that.
Yeah, he didn't care. But I remember watching it and then being disappointed we never got a sequel because the movie ends on this big cliffhanger because Princess Peach comes with a gun and she's like, I need your help, and they look at each other and the movie ends and it's like, all right, where are we getting Super Mario Brothers 2? And we never got a Super Mario Bros. 2. But anyways, so we're watching this, animation looks great, and I'm like, all right, man. Bowser,
dude, that movie was awesome, man.
Jack Black, killing it, right? Whoever's doing, like, all the people doing the voices for like the cute little blue guys and Toad, like, oh man, like they're great. So now I'm waiting, bated breath. Okay, let's see what Chris Pratt has got, and it's just Chris Pratt, and I'm just like, oh, okay, it's just Chris Pratt. And then like I saw trended on Twitter #NotMyMario. People are saying the voice sucks, and I'm just kind of like of the opinion this may be a hot take. But I thought the voice was okay. I was like, all right. I'm not saying like he's on the level of Jack Black or I think like the dude with I forget who does the Toad voice. Like I will say like everybody else who's doing a voice seems to be outdoing Chris Pratt, but I don't hate the voice. So I don't know. Maybe that's.
I kind of feel bad for Chris Pratt because it's not like the lines they used were particularly interesting. They're just sort of random. Like it's not like they gave him a scene with a dramatic speech or anything like setting up a war cry or like a big speech about to go to battle with the little penguins and shit. I kind of feel bad because like the scenes they used to showcase his voice weren't particularly interesting. But I was also of the opinion like I don't really care. It's fine. I mean I'm here for Jack Black at the end of the day. Jack Black. I decided that Jack Black is just the greatest at everything he does.
He's pretty great.
He's just what? Name one thing Jack Black's done bad. I literally can't. Every movie he's done is great. Every song he's written is great. Like even his like YouTube channel is great. His TikToks are great. Well, there's no end to this guy's talent. Like it almost feels illegal. I've like got a huge man crush on Jack Black. Not gonna lie. Not gonna point that right out there right now. Jack Black. I think he's the greatest human of all time. I wish he was my father. Maybe he's my father. We both have a beard.
I mean, it's true. Jack Black is great.
Much.
So yeah, I mean, I'll probably watch Super Mario Brothers when it's available to rent. Definitely not going to go out to the. I don't remember the last time. Oh, I do remember. The last time I went to the show was for Joker, October of 2019. I think the last time I went to the cinema, and yeah, I mean, I know
American said cinema.
Oh, whatever.
Did you?
I'm trying to be cultured like you. I'm trying to be cultured, right?
Do you actually say cinema? Is that a thing? Or
some people say cinema. Some people say it. Others just say the movies.
Put a poll in chat. I want to know. Put a poll in chat.
Stupid. That's stupid poll. That's stupid.
I want to know. I want to know if people say cinema. Do other Americans say cinema?
Super Mario Brothers 1993 was a masterpiece. So what do you want me to do a poll of? What's the stupid thing you want me to do a poll? What's the question you want?
Actually, I want a question about the Mario movie. What is the OG Mario movie a masterpiece?
The OG Mario movie a masterpiece? Okay, fine. And what should the answers be? What should the answers be?
Yes and no.
Hell yeah, as yes. What should be no? Like. No should just be like.
Hell no.
It's.
How do Americans say no?
I'll just say it sucked. I guess.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, it sucked. All right, I get. This is for whatever reason. Jez wants me to poll you guys on OG Mario movie for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's important. It's important knowledge. We need to know these things. It's consumer research, bro.
Consumer research.
Let's consumer research, yeah. We got to poll our audience. We need to know these things. Oh, damn! People are pretty split on it, actually. Although we're edging out. We're edging out the people who like it are winning a little bit here and there. I like that. Man, it's crazy how much better I play Overwatch when I've had something to drink. What is that? Why has no psychologist researched this phenomenon where like you just get slightly better at shooters after having a little bit of alcohol? What is that? What is that phenomenon? There has to be a name for it.
I don't know.
Oh, well.
Anyways, So, let's talk about the Series S really quickly because
Series S? That's very random. Let's
well,
talk
the
about
Series
Series
S because it was on sale at Target for $249 with an extra controller, which
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
a very good deal if you're into it. I did check it earlier and it seemed like it's sold out. Could this, Jez, be a preview of the holiday deals that Xbox might have for the Series S at like Best Buy, the Amazons and stuff, like Black Friday? Hey, get a Series S for $50 off, or get a game, get a controller. I know a lot of people are like holding out hope for a Series S at $199, being like, hey man, maybe Xbox could dominate the holidays with a really cheap Series S. But what do you think? Is this a preview for the holiday sales?
It could be. What if it's a preview for a permanent price drop? That'd be pretty ballsy, wouldn't it?
I don't think it'd be a permanent price
No?
drop yet. Not when like they're selling out like that. I mean, it'd be interesting. Xbox is dropping prices, Sony's raising prices, right? That'd definitely be an interesting thing.
That's an interesting dynamic. The Xbox Series X was in the news for another reason this week.
Okay, what for? I didn't hear this.
The RTX 4090 is in fact larger by volume, the graphics card, than this Xbox Series X.
I mean,
isn't
that thing like 80 teraflops or something?
Yes, it is about 10 times more powerful or more, 15 times more powerful. But I just think it's interesting. Isn't it a little bit interesting that there is a graphics card that exists in current year that is physically bigger by volume than an entire games console?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
At the same time, it's crazy. It just goes to show like the kind of diversity in the market that there is for gaming now, because we're all on x86 now. Because we're all on x86, there's no sort of like, there's no stopping a game having all these bolted on extra features that can utilize 80 teraflops, whether it's like ray tracing at 4K or 8K resolution potentially, it's 100 frames per second or whatever. Or if you still got a 1080p TV, you can just rock it out with the Xbox Series S. I just think it's kind of interesting that Microsoft have managed to fit an entire platform in such a small box. But yeah, that was another aspect of the Xbox Series S in the news this week. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do for pricing around Black Friday. Black Friday, there's also actually, is this under embargo? No, it's not under embargo, I don't think. There's also another Prime Day coming up. So Amazon isn't content with one Prime Day a year now. They're going to start doing 2 Prime Days a year. And I'm sure they're going to start doing 1 Prime Day a month eventually. But there's another Prime Day coming up. So maybe the Xbox Series S will be on offer for that Prime Day as well, maybe? I don't know.
Okay. We have Kissimmee South 9000 Super Chat saying the only way to make it even more perfect is to add Jack Black. Jack Black makes everything perfect. Remember, did you play Brutal Legend?
I really want to see Jack Black in more games. Brutal Legend is one game that I desperately hope will get a big budget sequel. That is just like, maybe take out some of the strategy elements, because they were kind of interesting, but I don't think they worked. Make it a Zelda-like, but with Jack Black and death metal. The game was a winning combo. I just think they stretched themselves a little bit too thin with that strange RTS feature. But the art in Brutal Legend and the direction and the everything was amazing. Brutal Legend was a great game overall. I'd love to see that game come back with Jack Black, because Jack Black is a god and everything he does is amazing. I just love Jack Black, Rand. I love him. I absolutely love him.
Yes.
I was in the same room as him once at E3. I saw him across the room, and I was like, I don't have the balls to even be in the presence of Jack Black, because the man's such a masterpiece, a living work of art. I stand for Jack Black. Can you tell?
I can't tell. Let's talk about the Horizon remaster, but I want to talk about in the way that relates to Xbox, really. But first, we have a super chat from Jez's #1 fan, Humdrum Dog 0211, who says, question on Killer Instinct response to hacker. Phil and Matt need to be arrested for not giving us a Killer Instinct 2. I know this sounds bad, but I hope Rumbleverse flops so Iron Galaxy works on Killer Instinct 2.
Yeah, it kind of sucks that we still don't have a Killer Instinct 2 or even a plan or even an announcement. It's kind of criminal that, Killer Instinct hasn't had a sequel, especially in a world where Microsoft's trying to cater to more different audiences. I thought it was interesting, though, because, okay, so for those who don't know what happened, Killer Instinct, the 2013 the 2013 fighter from Microsoft. Yeah, shooter. I'm a bit tipsy now. I'm gonna stop drinking before I get too bad. 2013 fighter from Microsoft, free to play, blah 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 blah. It's on Steam as well if you want to try it out. It's very good. Even now, it holds up. It got hacked. It literally got hacked this week, and unfortunately, the leaderboards, I believe, were wiped or something, and then matchmaking for ranked mode straight up just didn't work. Like that, it was broken by a hacker, and a bunch of people DM'd me. I messaged Xbox people, and they got it fixed, thankfully. They'd already heard about it when I messaged them. I'm not suggesting that it was because of me that it was fixed, but a lot of people have messaged them like, fix it. And they did. They fixed it. But I thought it was quite interesting that they, in the tweet where they talk about fixing it, they were like, oh yeah, we haven't touched the back end since like 2015 or something. They kind of admitted that the game had been neglected, and I said, yeah, we've done some much needed maintenance on the game, blah 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 blah, after a million years and stuff like that. So it's good that they at least bothered to fix it, because same cannot be said for some of the certain games out there which have small audiences. Recently Microsoft also had to deal with an issue with Bleeding Edge. So like Bleeding Edge is officially a dead game. Like they've said there's no more updates coming and stuff like that. Yet, it has a very dedicated and passionate community of gamers who play it every day. There's some people who really love Bleeding Edge and still play it even now. So that game also got broken a few weeks ago, and again, Microsoft came out and did some fixes on it, which I think is pretty cool, because other companies like Ubisoft, EA, especially Ubisoft more recently, they've been shutting games down rather than keep them updated and patched and stuff like that. Like not MBG, just any Titanfall. Titanfall is hacker's paradise right now. Titanfall 2, very very broken because EA don't want to fix it. And I think this is some of the benefits of Microsoft being a platform rather than a publisher. They are happy to allocate resources to this kind of thing. But what we really want, though, is a sequel. What we really want is a modern Killer Instinct game that sort of, can take advantage of modern technology, sort of add new heroes or, new combatants and all that kind of stuff. And we're still waiting. We haven't seen a shred of evidence that there's a new Killer Instinct coming. We had some vague rumors from our good buddy Special Nick, who said that he'd heard it was being worked on. I had the most vague rumor in the world that it could be a Japanese developer on board helping development. Bandai Namco was suggested to me from an unproven source, so I'm not sort of 100% on that information at all, which is why I didn't report it. I just sort of talked about it on the podcast.
Well, you did report it. You did write about it in Windows Central, yes.
Oh, did I? Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good job I got you here to be in my memory, because I don't know. I just don't have I don't have long-term memory around.
Apparently not.
What's wrong with me? I just don't.
You're just a procrastinator because you come in here a minute before the show's going live, like, add these names to the ticker, please.
Well, at least I don't make up idioms like wrench in the bucket. I just whack that out of thin air, man. Wrench in the bucket. What is that? What does that even come from?
Whatever, bro. You had me off my game, okay?
What does wrench in the bucket mean?
Nothing. It was supposed to be something else. Wrenching my plans? I don't know.
A wrench? Isn't the expression a wrench in the works?
I don't know what it's supposed to be. Let's just move on, because you're just whatever. We don't know anything about Killer Instinct.
I was sitting there thinking, is that some kind of Chicago thing?
No, it's not a Chicago thing. I'm just saying.
Does everyone in Chicago have a bucket? or something? And is that some kind of
Look, I've already gotten
thing that
Sloth
runs-
about this. Okay, Sloth is already like literally has my face plastered over a bucket, right? And he
Plastered?
plastered, stamped over, whatever, bro. Like now you got me all confused. I'm just saying,
Okay,
like, I'm getting Sloth, like, he's basically like, join the Xbox 2, this Wrench in a Bucket episode or whatever, with my name, with my face just, like, right there, like, right on the bucket and stuff. And then he made fun. Apparently, I said it was a real turn pager or something like that, which I didn't even know I said at the time, but I guess I did.
Yeah, you did. A
What?
turn pager.
I meant page turner. I meant page turner.
So between us, I have a really bad memory, and you can't talk. But together, we make up for each other's shortcomings. Okay.
I can talk, damn it. I can talk. Yeah, the thing I wanted Killer Instinct 2. It deserves to have a sequel. Problem is, just like with most of the stuff last gen, they didn't have any internal studios. We saw how that went from the quality of the games from external partners. You know, you can't rely on it, right? Because somebody like Amazon comes in and buys up the original people who did Killer Instinct. Double Helix. You give it to Iron Galaxy, they work on it for a while, but then they're probably like, well, let's just make our own game, right? And they do Rumbleverse because they don't not everybody wants to be mercenaries for hire. Some people have loftier aspirations because you can most likely make more money on your own stuff than you can working on somebody else's. So I don't really blame, Iron Galaxy wanting to do something of their own where they own the IP.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, well now we need to find somebody to work on this, but like everybody's, there's not really like fighting devs that are available, so we'll see. I mean, I think we get a banjo game for sure within the next, with just gen. I'm not so sure about Killer Instinct.
Rand confirms banjo game.
I said I think we will get a new banjo game for my banjo bros out there. Sometime this generation. I'm less sure about Killer Instinct, but I hope we do see it at some point. So there is that. We have a super chat from Donkey Punch saying, if the ABK deal fails, Phil should back a Brinks truck up and pay to make COD exclusive in any other big game and bury Sony. I've seen people talk about this in the sense that, like, if the deal went south and Microsoft, say, sued all these government bodies, right, that were blocking the deal or whatever, and they lost that, so like the deal had to basically be stopped, and Xbox had to pay, or Microsoft had to pay Activision $3 billion, then Microsoft would just take that money and just either go buy up smaller publishers or just go buy exclusivity on all the games that would come to PlayStation. And I don't really think that would happen. The reason they spent $70 billion on Activision is because it was an opportunity buy because of the stock price, and because they needed a mobile publisher, and they got one that also had a PC developer because they're trying to expand into PC, and it just so happened to come with Call of Duty, right? It was basically everything they were looking for. Granted, the price was steep, and yes, you could buy Sega and Capcom and Ubisoft and all these other companies for half the price. But the problem is, like, Xbox is, Microsoft and Xbox are looking at, like, specific things. And one of the specific things was mobile. So the idea that, like, well, if Activision Blizzard goes through, they'll just go buy a whole bunch of other publishers really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because you're not just going to go buy stuff willy-nilly. You're going to buy stuff because it fits the idea and the plan that you want to put in place. And one of the big things was mobile and PC, right?
Yeah.
And that's why for I'm not saying for me, because for me, like, even though I love Call of Duty's campaigns and I'm really interested in seeing what new IPs they bring back, if they can really splinter off and get, like, Beanox to make new stuff or High Moon Studios to make new stuff. And I've never been the biggest fan of Blizzard games. Well, no, that's not true, because I do like Diablo. So I'm more excited about maybe the future of what Activision can do down the road. But if you were me and you're like, here, Rand, you buy what you want, right? I mean, I wouldn't buy Activision Blizzard because I'm not thinking about the business of Xbox and Microsoft. If you want, in my personal taste, you already got Bethesda, who I love. I would have been like, all right, we're getting Capcom because they got Resident Evil and they got Street Fighter and they got Dino Crisis and they got Monster Hunter, right? And they got Devil May Cry. Like, I think, okay, that's who you grab. You get, how many times have I talked about Warner Brothers? You get the Batman games, you get Suicide Squad, you get Mortal Kombat, right? Everybody has their own opinion on like the deal and what you would want from a publisher that, if you were in charge, this is who you would get because you like their games. And for me, like that, yeah, definitely, I have like my own feelings on it. But when you look at it, I think from Xbox and Microsoft perspective, like Activision Blizzard is like literally number one because it fit almost everything they want, they were planning for. So I know there's that sense like, well, if they'll just go buy up everything. Like they'll just spend $70 billion in timed exclusives or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know if they would, because does that really benefit Xbox in any way? Like, or Microsoft to spend that type of money on short-term games? Microsoft really doesn't even really do timed exclusivity in the way that Sony does. They sign games for Game Pass, but usually only for a few months. So Sony's out here like 1 year for Deathloop, 1 year for Ghostwire Tokyo, 2 for Final Fantasy 16, forever for Final Fantasy 7 Remake, right? Who knows what else they got in hand? Probably, forever for what was that? That Project Eve game that got a new name that I don't remember, and the Ronin game from Team Ninja. Like they're doing the longer deals, and Xbox does the shorter one because they haven't really done one of those deals since Rise of the Tomb Raider. So I know people are like, well, if this happens, then this will happen. But I'm not so sure. Maybe they then pivot and they're like, okay, we couldn't get Activision Blizzard, but we still need to fill these gaps. We still need somebody for mobile. We still need more PC stuff. So then they would be like, okay, which one of these things? Because not everybody wants to get bought out. And that's the other thing. It just thinks like, well, we'll just wave a whole bunch of money at you. And it's not like Microsoft, because I've heard this. Like, it's not just like Microsoft just got we'll just give you a whole bunch of money. Like, that stuff needs to be carefully collated and marked down. And, like, it's not just like, well, offer them $1 billion when they, like, there's budgets for all this stuff. You just can't just, like, shoot for the moon for a studio that you want or something that might cost $5 billion, but they don't want to sell. So then you're like, well, okay, we'll give you 12. Like, that wouldn't be fiscally responsible. I don't know. Like, what I'm saying is just if the deal failed, I wouldn't expect them to spend all that money on a whole bunch of other stuff. They would spend it on things that they, have a need for. That's what I personally think. I mean, I might be wrong either way.
I think they should, if the deal falls through, I think they should at the least buy the Call of Duty marketing deal.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think, like, the Call of Duty marketing deal has a dramatic impact that I think, like, a lot of people don't appreciate, potentially. I think they should definitely look at that.
Maybe they should do more marketing deals. Maybe they should spend the money, and then maybe that's what they could do. Okay, we got marketing for Call of Duty. We go get marketing for FIFA or something. Well, because you're gonna have multiple football games soon because the FIFA license went to somebody else. So maybe they do some of that. There's things you can spend it on outside of acquisitions, because acquisitions are always a tricky thing. Everybody thought Square Enix was about to get bought by Sony. And it looks like that maybe not be happening because Square is taking outside investments in their studios. So things change, man. Yeah. Things change really quickly.
Invested in by Tencent, right?
I don't know who, but as far as this poll goes, Jez, 430 votes. Is the OG Mario movie a masterpiece? 48% said hell yeah, and 52% said it sucked. So.
That's pretty close, though.
I mean,
surprisingly, considering the general narrative is that the movie's bad, right?
It's close,
but it seems like there is a silent, secret majority of people that accept the truth. that the Super Mario original movie was a flawless masterpiece, and Bob Hoskins was an amazing Mario.
Oh, dude, he
in
was
my opinion.
amazing in Hook. One of those movies that
Oh, yeah.
I loved as a kid.
It's just-
Anyways, Jazz,
he's just kind of amazing,
we
isn't
know
he?
like another 4-hour podcast. We don't start get moving on this stuff. But either way, maybe that's why people like it. 'Cause
Dude,
just,
screw it.
Anyways,
4-hour podcast.
Horizon
let's do it.
Remaster.
Let's do it. 5-hour
The
podcast.
reason I want to talk about this is because how could it be applied? I saw this was like a Patreon poll, right? You did ask this in Patreon, right? To get people's thoughts on it. So there was like a list of Sony exclusives that were making the round where the information came out that they were going to remaster Horizon Zero Dawn, which is only 5 years old. And so it's like, all right, Guerrilla's making a Horizon Online game, which, maybe like Monster Hunter-ish against like machines. Maybe that could get Jez into playing it if it was something like that. Co-op online.
When it comes to PC, sure.
Hunting monsters. And according to this document, it is coming to PC because it's a games as a service. And as we'll talk about in a bit, Sony is basically saying, yeah, day and date is happening for, games as a service, which no shit, Sherlock. I've been trying to say this for forever to these dudes, and these dudes never wanted to believe it. Anyways, Fire Sprite's working on Horizon VR, which we knew about, but they're also working on something called Heartbreak, which is a survival horror game. So I'm very interested in that, but that's also coming to PC. Sumo, who did Sackboy, and I also believe Sumo Digital also did Crackdown 3, so who got the better deal of that one, huh? They're bringing Sackboy to PC, which I believe is coming out at the end of the month, but they're also working on something called Carbon, which is an open world game. Okay. Lucid, who did Destruction All-Stars that nobody really cared or played, they're doing something called Red Star, which is a vehicle combat game. Housemarque's making Returnal for the PC, which we've seen because Sony's kind of claiming videos and tweets about that. Kojima Productions is on here for something called Ocean, which is an open world game on Decima, presumably Death Stranding 2. And I've seen some things where Kojima's teasing characters for something he's working on, like Ellie Fanning. I don't know if you've seen those pictures, Jez.
Yeah,
that Kojima's been teasing.
I saw that.
So what's that for? Is that for the Xbox game that's already announced? Is that for a potential Death Stranding 2? Nobody knows because Kojima, but probably his game's going to be announced at the TGAs. Yes. Ballistic Moon is working on something called Bates, which is another survival horror game on the Decima engine, PS5 and PC.
Bates?
Something called Bates.
Bates is in Norman Bates?
I mean,
as in
survival
Psycho?
horror, yeah. So PS5 and PC.
Norman Bates.
And then London is working on something called Camden, which is a games as a service coming to PS5 and PC. That's the list. But people really kind of focused on the Horizon PS5 remaster because people thought it was unnecessary because, well, the game's not that old. And people thought, like, The Last of Us kind of was already unnecessary. But how do you, like, if you were Xbox, because what was the question you posed to Patrons? Should Xbox do more of this stuff? Because you posed the Patrons and you asked them a question about this. It was like,
hang on, I'll pull the poll up. Let's sit. So
right.
I asked the Patreon audience, how, because I posted your tweet, your spicy.
Oh, my
tweet.
spicy one. Yeah, okay.
Your spicy little tweet, and then I asked the Patreon audience, for fun, Remasterama. Lots of discourse on Twitter regarding Sony's decision to remaster games from just 5 years ago. Horizon Zero Dawn is next in line with $70 PS5 re-release remaster, which will supposedly include some kind of multiplayer. So I asked our Patreon audience, which is, is about 150 people now. Thanks to everyone who joined the Patreon. The Patreon audience, and I said, what should Xbox do? Would you like to see Xbox make these kind of remasters of fairly recent games, like Xbox One games up to Xbox Series SX games? Or would you prefer them to focus on new stuff? So the answers were focus on new stuff. I want remasters as well, or do both. And 50%, well, 46% said focus on new stuff, and 51% said focus on both. They want both. They want their cake and they want to eat it too. But only 3% said they want just remasters. So there seems to be an audience small sample size, admittedly, but there seems to be an audience for these kind of remakes and remasters, and and I think partially that's why the rumors of a sort of
Gears
a
collection,
Gears Ultimate
because we got
collection,
a super
Gears
chat from
collection,
Love of the Game saying anything about the Gears collection floating about. And by the way, I'm going to put up a poll since we asked the Patreon guys. I thought we'd ask you: should Xbox do more remasters, remakes? Yes, I would love that. No, I want new stuff, and do both. So let your voice be heard. Vote in the poll. I wonder how this one's going to turn out. But yeah, Gears collection, special Nick rumor. What do you think about that, Jez? I mean, because I was thinking of something I would want to be remastered, and I was struggling to think of anything from Xbox One. Like, there's the idea in my head. I was like, well, you could remaster Rise, the greatest looking 900p of all time, game of all time, and like bring it up to 4K, and that game would look incredible. But if you're not doing the sequel, then what's the point? And they don't own the IP, so they probably wouldn't even bother. And it's like, I don't really think anything Xbox did during the Xbox One gen would need to be remastered. And Xbox typically does these free updates anyways, right? Like Gears 5 got updated for the Series X for free. So did Forza Horizon 4. So did Sea of Thieves, right? Sea of Thieves runs 120, 4K and stuff. Xbox could have did what Sony does, where they charge like a director's cut or something, or charge for an upgrade, but they went the smart delivery angle and they just updated these games for free, right? They do have some of that stuff on the hardware side, where like the old Gears games use the Hochi method to get up to 4K with 60 frames or whatever, right? So like the older Gears games look pretty good. So I was struggling
method.
A Hovis method. I forget what it was. So, like, I was thinking of the Xbox One gen, and I'm like, nah, there's nothing I would really want to be remastered. So you go back to the 360, and it's like, okay, for 360, they did remaster Gears Ultimate, Gears 1, fair. I know people for a long time have been asking for 343 to remaster or remake Halo 3 in the vein of Halo 2 and get Blur to do the cutscenes, right? Make it run better and stuff, but I think that's past, and they're never going to do that. I'm trying to even think what Xbox even put out, like the Fable games. They did Fable 2 and Fable 3, but it's like, I would say no to those because we got the new Fable coming. Like, they did a remaster of Fable Anniversary. Like, maybe if you did a remake of Fable Anniversary, the first one, but then, like, you got the new one coming, so you don't really need it. So I was even struggling to think of like anything from the 360 era that would need a remake or a remaster. You go back to the OG Xbox, and it's like they did Halo 2, they did Halo 1. I didn't.
There are a lot of games I can think of that could deserve a remake, a full-blown remake.
Okay, what would be yours?
Like Lost Odyssey, for example.
Okay, yeah.
Full-blown remake. That'd be great.
All right.
Full-blown remake on a modern engine, blah, 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 blah. Maybe even add new features, stuff like that. New gameplay mechanics. I think that'd be sick. Just bring that IP back in general. Microsoft just have one Japanese game internally, for God's sake. There's a lot of people who are nostalgic about classic turn-based JRPGs, and there's not a whole lot of options out there for us. You could cater to a small niche, that's what you're all about with your Game Pass stuff, right? But anyway, I digress. So Lost Odyssey is one. Also Rise, I'd like to see Rise get a sort of a remaster at least, but also Quantum Break. I think I know Quantum Break's been upscaled to some degree.
Yep.
But I feel like, full-blown remake could make the game sort of achieve the visual quality that it was sort of... I kind of feel like they wanted to achieve but couldn't because they were bottlenecked by the SRAM and stuff like that on the Xbox One gen. So Quantum Break, but a lot of these games are kind of games that Microsoft doesn't want to look at again, I think, which is the problem. I think they feel like if they commit to a remake or a remaster of some of these games, it'd be like teasing people for a sequel, right? because a lot of the games that Sony are working on, they're games that are going to get sequels. You know there's going to be more. There's going to be a Last of Us 3. You know it. You know there's going to be a Horizon Zero Dawn 3 and all that kind of stuff. But there's probably not going to be a Quantum Break 2. There's probably not going to be a Rise 2. So I think like there's that argument to be made as well, where it's kind of like Microsoft doesn't want to present it as if they are interested in continuing those franchises. I think Microsoft's still in this kind of holding pattern where they're trying to rebuild their, I don't know what to say, their credibility, frankly, as a studio that can actually make quality games. They're trying to rebuild their credibility, which is why we don't see games like an Xbox Super Smash Brothers or an Xbox MOBA, because they feel like they haven't earned it. Like we don't see like a movie. We don't see Microsoft pushing into movies as much, because they honestly they need a banger game before they push into that area. And a lot of their games just haven't been bangers, you know. And the games that have been bangers have been getting TV shows. There's a Grounded TV show coming. There's a Cuphead TV show that's already out, you know. So like the few games that they did have that were bangers, they did get extra treatment. They did get sequels, and they did even get TV shows. So there's something to be said about that. But, you know, the Halo TV show hasn't resonated with a lot of people for whatever reason. I haven't watched it myself yet. Have you watched it, Rand? Have you watched the Halo TV show yet?
No, I haven't. I have just no.
Are you just scared to watch it? Are you scared?
I just
it's gonna ruin.
I don't know. We'll see season 2. Maybe season 2 redeems it, and it's like, okay, everybody, you know, season 2's better. I'll watch it now or whatever. But I just don't really care to watch Master Cheeks, bro. I just don't. I just really don't. You know.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Poor Master Cheeks.
Glitch Doctor, who's been a member for 25 months, says, Jez Corden, quote, I regret nothing because I have a very bad memory. That's very true. Very true.
Dude, sometimes I actually worry about my memory. Like, am I just like trying to remember too much stuff and that stuff gets pushed out? Or have I actually got some kind of brain problem? Sometimes I actually do worry. Because my girlfriend will be like, I literally told you that 5 seconds ago. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And Phil Spencer says, I'm going to make Xbox great again. Great pod, gents. Well, I mean,
yeah.
We appreciate Phil Spencer dropping the super chat, enjoying the podcast. So yeah, let's see what this poll's at. The poll's at 308 votes. Thank you everybody for voting. Not surprisingly, yes, I would love that for more remasters and remakes is 14%. No, I want new stuff is at 38%. And do both. It's like, why can't we have both? Is at 48%. So I mean, that's kind of exactly how I thought it would fall in line. So
the cool thing about Sony is that they've literally invested in studios who are kind of, that's their thing. Their thing is remasters, right? Like Blue Point, for example. They invested in studios specifically for that purpose. So fair play to Sony. They're not exactly detracting necessarily from new stuff, because they've invested in studios that are designed to provide that kind of content, which I think is a good thing. You know, like people are mocking Sony for doing that remake and that remaster, but at the end of the day, people are going to buy it. People are literally going to buy Horizon Zero Dawn remastered, 4K, whatever, and the extra features. People are literally going to buy it.
Well, there's the thought that they want it because of the TV show, right? Last of Us remake,
that too.
You know, for the HBO TV show. Horizon's getting a Netflix show, so you put like, you know, the Horizon remastered so it looks the best as possible in the PS5 case next to the Horizon sequel. So they're doing all these TV shows because they're all cross media now, which is kind of funny to see Xbox start that in 2013 and just fall on their face, close the studio before it released anything, and then the next generation. You know, basically now it's all the rage. Everybody wants to do cross media. Sony has all these productions for their games and movies. Cyberpunk just released. Like, everything is about having your game, having TV shows and movies to feed back into the game, like all this stuff. And it was just like, once again, Xbox just early to the party before everybody was really ready for it, or before they were even really serious about it. Like, you mentioned on Twitter, where's your Gears of War movie with Batista? How has that not been done yet? How's that not a thing?
Yeah,
right?
It's crazy. It's really funny. You know, I literally have the PowerPoint presentation where Phil Harrison and and our old buddy, what's his name? I can't remember his name.
Donnie Matrick?
Matrick, yeah. Like Phil Harrison and Don Matrick presented their vision for what Xbox should be like. And I literally have that PowerPoint presentation on my hard drive. I'll share it one day with you guys. But it's really funny because even though Phil Harrison, you know, the guy who, you know, ran Stadia into the ground,
Yes.
even though Phil Harrison like is getting trolled to hell, all the stuff he said in his PowerPoint presentation about like cross media and about like TV shows and Netflix, the rise of Netflix and stuff, everything that Phil Harrison predicted has came true. You know, it's like they had the right plan. It was just kind of like it was just a little bit too early. And I think Microsoft didn't really have the prestige in a lot of their franchises to push it through. You know, but that being said, Rand, Cyberpunk arguably didn't have any prestige at all when they released Edgerunners. I thoroughly expected Edgerunners to be garbage. I was like, I was totally prepared, and I'm someone who I'm a Cyberpunk apologist. You know, I'm someone who like gave Cyberpunk a glowing review. Someone who's like, I didn't get it for free like some people. I bought the collector's edition with my own money, like a you know, a regular human being. You know, I didn't get one for free like some of these influencer dudes did. I bought it, and I bought a bunch of other Cyberpunk stuff. I bought the art book and loads of other stuff because I loved it. I loved the game, and I still love the game. I loved it at launch. I love it now. I'm like full blown Cyberpunk stan and CD Projekt Red unapologetic apologist. That being said, I did not have high hopes for Edgerunners. I thought Edgerunners was going to be like a sort of lame kind of thing, sort of like almost like they designed it to be a cash in, a sort of like hope. Like the game, like they expected the game to be good, and that automatically the show would have an audience as well. But it turns out Edgerunners is amazing, and a lot of people are saying it might actually be the best video game adaptation of all time. So even though Cyberpunk like is a pariah in the game industry, it shows that a good TV show, if it's actually genuinely good, it doesn't matter how good the game is. You know, because the one thing that Cyberpunk got right was the world. You know, it's Mike Pondsmith. Cyberpunk is like an established universe, and ultimately the Cyberpunk anime, it's based on the game. You know, the anime even has the UI from the game, which is amazing and hilarious. But at the same time, it's also Mike Pondsmith's established Cyberpunk universe, so it's not exactly like a tall order to make that good. But it goes to show how a good execution of arguably what is very complicated can actually really benefit a game's audience. And because of the Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime, we saw Cyberpunk on Steam hit, you know, numbers that it had never seen and actually exceed The Witcher 3, which I think is nuts. I would never have expected that in a million years. So, you know, Phil Harrison totally nailed that with his predictions of where this was going to go. He totally nailed it. But, you know, execution is what's important, right? And unfortunately, we just straight up didn't really have that. I actually kind of liked the Quantum Break TV show that's baked into the game. But I thought it was kind of fun and unique and interesting, but a lot of people hated it. You know, what did you think of the Cyberpunk TV show? I presume you watched it, right?
I haven't watched it yet.
Not the Cyberpunk, Quantum Break. Sorry.
I mean,
Did you experience the Quantum Break?
Yes,
stuff?
I watched the Quantum Break stuff. I thought it was okay. I have not watched the Cyberpunk stuff yet. I will, because I am 2 episodes away from finishing Vinland Saga. I'm on like episode 22, I believe. It's been quite the journey. Rand is not someone who watches animes, and I watched this one, and it was pretty damn good. I have to say, it exceeded all my expectations. It was amazing. Maybe it's because it really doesn't feel like an anime to me. At least it doesn't have a lot of the anime tropes that I usually kind of think anime has. Can't wait to watch the last 2 episodes. last night I watched the new Hellraiser, by the way, on Hulu.
Wait, that's out already?
Yeah, it came out today. Hellraiser, watched it last night.
Good?
Yeah.
Is it a movie or a show?
It's a movie. It's a 2-hour movie. It's a reboot of Hellraiser, and yeah, it was pretty good. It's not like amazing. The best parts of the movie are the Cenobites. They're like redesigned. Like they made that whole movie. Like this first half of the movie was a little bit slow on the slower side, but bro, the second half, when you can sort of see all the great horror, like went up in my opinion. So yeah, I'm a big Hellraiser fan, so I enjoyed it, but I will be watching the Cyberpunk thing. So it's just interesting to see how, I guess you could say Microsoft was ahead of the curve on everything, but like nobody was ready to do any of the stuff like cameras in your house or whatever. Now that's just accepted with, all the Googles and the Alexas and all that stuff. Like people were like, no, the whole digital thing that now is like dominating the industry, movies and TV shows for your IPs, which is now everybody's doing. They're just a generation ahead. They're just a generation ahead. Gaming Forte has been a member for 25 months. The man, the myth, the legend, who put out an amazing video on Twitter with some incredible lighting and incredible camera, making me a little bit jealous, who also talked about the PlayStation games going PC date, and he riled up a lot of fans because he said, hey, Herman Holst, Jim Ryan, he's basically coming out and telling you guys, PlayStation fans just aren't enough. That didn't really endear him very much to the PlayStation community, but he says, as an Xbox and PlayStation 5 owner, I know I'm just a money sign to these companies. Hopefully my PlayStation brethren realize they're not enough for Sony moving forward. And see, he just said it as well.
This is why console tribalism is so stupid, because Sony is a publicly traded company. At the end of the day, in capitalism, there is demand for perpetual infinite growth. And as we've seen from established industry trends, the console market is not growing. It is pretty much static. It's sort of like it grows a little bit, but it's not growing as fast as mobile, and it's not growing as fast as PC. So if you are Sony and you are trying to, or you Sony or Xbox, frankly, and you're trying to explore how to expand your business outside of that console niche, because it is niche, believe it or not, and a lot of people don't accept it, but console is becoming niche. If you want to grow outside of that niche, you're going to have to look to other platforms, which is mobile and which is PC. And I've been saying it for years. We've been saying it on this podcast for years that Sony will eventually do day and date on PC, because it's the logical conclusion of a company that is publicly traded. If you are a publicly traded company and you want to grow, you are not thinking about the tiers of fanboys on Twitter. You are not thinking about that. You're thinking about, where can I sell my games? And one place you can sell your games, guaranteed, because Sony's games are very good, is Steam. One place where they're not available right now, but very, very probably will soon be, is Steam. And we got a very, very, very aggressive example of why Steam support is very, very good and smart this year. Because this February was very packed and very busy, and literally nobody was talking about Horizon, the new Horizon game, the name of which I can't even remember, which is a testament to the point I'm making. Forbidden West, yeah, I couldn't even remember the name, and that's a testament to the point I'm making. Nobody was talking about Forbidden West because everybody was talking about Elden Ring. And you can argue the fact that even if Forbidden West was on PC, maybe people would still be talking about Elden Ring because Elden Ring was kind of amazing. But the fact that Elden Ring was on PC and Forbidden West wasn't, was a sort of like, it was sort of like, yeah, we have to talk about Elden Ring because we don't even have Forbidden West available. Forbidden West is not a quantity. There are countries in the world which don't have a console audience, because consoles are too expensive, whether it's, tariffs or weird tax rules or whatever. There's like entire countries where just console gaming just doesn't exist, where Steam is God, and you've got companies like EA bending over backwards to support Steam now. because they've just capitulated to the fact that Steam is God. Steam is God for core gaming, and that's just the way things are going. And it's getting even more that way with the Steam Deck. You know, Steam Deck has made PC gaming more accessible than ever, and that's like going to make Steam more accessible than ever, which is going to make Steam even more important. And I think, like, for example, Dead Space, the new Dead Space game, is going native on Steam. It's skipping Origin completely and just launching directly into Steam, which is an example, you know. So I think, like, it's a foregone conclusion that Sony's going to end up supporting PC day and date. It's not a bad thing. It means that Sony will have more money to make great PlayStation games. So, like, all the people that are triggered by the sacrilegious the sacrilegious suggestion that Sony could support PC day and date, you know, you're going to benefit from this because Sony will have more money and they will invest in making more good games. You know, if Sony launched Bloodborne is not selling anymore. Everyone on PlayStation who wants to play Bloodborne, they already own Bloodborne. The only way you sell more Bloodborne is to launch it on PC. Sony would make money hand over fist if they launched Bloodborne on PC.
But why aren't they doing that? Why isn't there a Bloodborne for PC?
I don't know.
Why isn't there a Bloodborne? Why isn't there a Bloodborne for PS5? I mean, it's back and pat, but why isn't there a Bloodborne PS5 version that's updated? Is it because there's no TV version of Bloodborne? If there was a TV version of Bloodborne, would there be a Bloodborne?
I don't know. I think if it's going to happen eventually. It's inevitable. It's bloody inevitable, you know. But they're going to make money hand over fist, you know. And if they launch any of their games on PC, they're going to make tons of money, free money, you know, because it's not exactly hard to port an x86 game to PC, especially considering like Steam Deck, you know, uses Proton and Linux and all that kind of stuff. PlayStation also uses Linux. You know, it's a very cheap way to make a lot of money. And frankly, if Sony doesn't bring their games to PC, it's a dereliction of duty to their shareholders, you know, in this glorious system we call capitalism.
Well,
right?
since we're on that topic, let's talk about it now. Because can I just point out for the record how glorious it's been to see the goalposts move in real time over this specific subject over the course of this generation? Like, the amount of people that put their foot in their mouth regarding this specific topic is just, it's so good, right? Because I remember when I had the sourcing on Horizon Zero Dawn coming to PC, and I said it was happening, and I got jumped by every PlayStation fan on social media that you can imagine, telling me all different reasons why Sony would never, ever put their games on PC, right? Because Sony knows the value of exclusives. There's no reason to get the PlayStation if you could just get their games on PC. And here I am basically knowing for a fact that Horizon Zero Dawn's coming to PC and that Sony is basically going to put everything on PC. That's what I was told, right? And everybody made fun of me. They were coming at me because it got personal. For a lot of these guys, it got real personal. A lot of these dudes, a lot of fanboys on all sides, Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, they have their emotional core, or they have their core identity, like they have their identity wrapped up with the whole console war. So, like, if you attack PlayStation or it's perceived that you're attacking Xbox or PlayStation, it's like you're attacking them, right? When people come to me and they try to get under my skin by saying, you're so dumb, stupid Xbot, you got no games. What? Like, is that supposed to make me be upset? Am I supposed to, like, cry? Right? Like, I don't care about any of this. Like, why would I care? Like, you're attacking an Xbox. And sure, I may be an Xbox content creator with the channel that focuses on Xbox, but we talk about the good and the bad here, right? So you saying Xbox has no games isn't going to make me run upstairs across the street and start just crying at at my lungs at the world, like, God, why won't you put games on Xbox? These guys are just attacking me on social media. Like, it's nothing. Just, whatever. Who cares, right?
I care. I'm
But
upset. I'm triggered now.
no, but I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, attack Xbox all you want. I don't care. It doesn't bother me at the slightest, right? But it's just funny to see because a lot of the guys, like, they wrap up their identity. So when you say these sort of things, they feel personally attacked. So I was like, hey, Horizon's coming to PC, and I think all the PlayStation games will. They're like, no, Rand, you don't know shit. You're so freaking stupid. Sony would never do this, blah, 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 blah. And it was like one by one, Horizon came to PC, and Herman Holst came out and was like, yes, it's coming to PC. And he basically treated that audience like a bunch of children because he was like, let me just say, guys, okay, it's just one game. We're not bringing all the games. It's just one. So calm down. We're not doing day and date. It's okay. It's just one little game, guys. Just one little game. Well, I don't know. Whatever. It's just right. So he basically was like, don't worry. It's just one AAA game. It's not all of them. We're not doing day and date. And then the following year. So you got all the PlayStation guys like, it's just one. It's 5 years later. Who cares? Yeah, whatever. You stupid Xbox fans. You whatever. And then next year, Herman Hulst is like, yeah, we're bringing the whole slate over. You know, like all the games are coming. There wasn't really a backlash on the PlayStation side, which that's lies because there was tons of backlash. There's even tons of backlash now, right? So then it became, we're only doing one. It's not all of them. We're not doing day and day two. We're bringing the whole mother effing slate. And then this year, yeah, you know what? The single player games, they'll maybe a year in between releases. Maybe like a year, maybe two or whatever. But then he was like, but the games as a service games, which nobody knew even existed, that Sony was making them until recently. Well, yeah, they're all going to be day and date on PC because, well, you have to. If you actually want a successful games as a service, you got to put it in as many platforms as possible. And it's probably got to be free as well. So, your Last of Us Factions, your whatever Haven's making, whatever all these other day and date games, or whatever games as a service games, they're all going to be on PC day one alongside their PS5 version, right? So there's been this whole so it went from Sony will never do this to it won't do it with current games to it won't do it with PS5 games to now we're here. Well, it's just one. They're just constantly tripping over their own words because now Sony is doing day and date, but for games as a service, right? And they're like, well, it's only 1 year or maybe two but the thing is, you guys got to realize that Sony is doing this. This is textbook strategy of basically leading your consumers to a place where they don't want to go, but you are going to try to minimize anger, right? It's like, at first they tell you it's just one, and then they tell you, a lot of them are coming, and then, it's day and date, right? Because the more it goes on, they know that you're just going. It's like a toddler. You let them kick and scream at the top of their lungs because they're eventually going to wear themselves out, and they just won't be angry anymore. So while everybody was really angry when it first happened, by the time all these day and date games as a service games come out, and by the time, Horizon Forbidden West comes out on PC a year and a half later, or God of War Ragnarok a year and a half later, everybody is kind of over it because it's a standard thing. And then when Sony sees the data they're getting about how it doesn't affect console sales by having it on PC, they're just going to have everything PC. Because Nixxes just updated Spider-Man on Steam to be able to link PSN. Your PSN account to it, right? So now that linking's starting. There's rumors that Sony's working on a launcher of their own. Like, why else would you have a launcher? Because you're going to be putting everything you make on PC, and you're going to make the most money on that when you're basically launching those games day one. You could have cross-buy like Xbox does. So, it's only a matter of time. And sure, right now, they're not doing it for their single players, but that's just because they're telling you what you need to hear. So by the time we get to the point where the single-player games are day and date, you're perfectly fine with it because you've already did your kicking and screaming, right? You're tired yourself out, and it's just whatever now. So yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan's
should be noted that it's...
Jim Ryan's all
Sorry,
about
go
that
on.
money, baby. He's a businessman. He was about the money. Like, they're building these big games
so
that
is
cost.
Xbox.
Well, I know, but the games get bigger and bigger. They cost more and more. They take longer and longer. So it's like, yeah, you come up with different revenue streams. You raise the price of the games. Like, you do as much as you can to get as much money because, as Jez said before, investors expect perpetual growth. And how are you gonna how are you gonna grow if you're just constantly static in your own ecosystem, which really is not going to grow too much? You go to other places. So you go to PC and you raise the price. So it looks like, at least on the investors, hey, we're making more money than we did before. Last year we made $25 billion. This year we made $27 billion, and then we're going to make $31 billion or whatever it's going to be. So it looks to the investors like, hey, you're growing. The business is good instead of declining. So, it is what it is. I'm not surprised at all.
I mean, it should be noted that it's a vocal minority of PlayStation fans, frankly.
Sure, of course.
There's
always
most PlayStation fans, they're not even aware of this, and there's even more PlayStation fans who understand why it's a good thing. So it's always that sort of vocal minority which we sort of often exposed to, which get an unnecessary amount of attention. They don't deserve that kind of attention, but they get all salty. I don't want to call them out by name, but the people who on Twitter and people who are watching the show and are on Twitter frequently, they know exactly who we're talking about. There's just sort of like a subsection of PlayStation fans who they really, really emotionally invested in this whole console war, which is just super kind of sad, for whatever reason. And furthermore, for whatever reason, Sony seems to want to cater to those fans. I don't know why, because Sony's uniquely positioned as one of the companies that engages the least on social media. None of Sony's executives engage on social media. When's the last time you heard a YouTuber talk about how, I had a conversation with Herman Hulst, or I had a conversation with Jim Ryan? They just don't, because they don't even play games.
Oh.
Jim Ryan doesn't play games. Have you seen him hold a PlayStation controller?
Oh, it looks weird.
It's he doesn't play games. He's an accountant. He's there to make money. He's there to make money for the shareholders. Jim Ryan has never played a game in his life, unlike Phil Spencer, unlike Mikey Barra and people like this, And there's nothing wrong with that, frankly. At the end of the day, this is a business, and you want someone who knows the business to be running the business at the end of the day. I mean, it's a nice to have if, someone actually plays the games. But with this company the size of Sony, ultimately, at the end of the day, you can employ someone else to be knowledgeable about the actual games, as long as you're knowledgeable about the actual business. And frankly speaking, Jim Ryan is pretty knowledgeable about the actual business, because let's face it, PlayStation is a damn powerhouse, and they make a lot of damn money. That being said, they've been pretty ignorant about the potential benefits of having their games day on day on PC. They are so damn late to this party, and it drives me crazy. Microsoft has been putting their games day and day on PC since Quantum Bloody Break. And I remember,
technically,
Xbox fans
since
were also
Gears 5. Quantum Break wasn't. Was Quantum Break day and date?
I think.
Gears 5 was the first Xbox Play Anywhere title. Quantum Break was an Xbox Play Anywhere. I think you got a code to play it on Steam, but yeah, you might be right. Or was it Windows? And then it came to Steam later. I think they came to Windows, and then it came to Steam later.
Maybe it came later. I don't know.
But you're right.
Anyway,
you're right. Xbox...
I remember Quantum Break was the first game that created the controversy. I remember when controversy when Quantum Break hit Xbox, there was a subsection of Xbox fans who were really annoyed about it as well, and they were saying that it would degrade the exclusives proposition for Xbox. But even back then, were we podcasting back then? I don't think we were, right?
No, we didn't start till 2017. No.
Yeah, okay. So we weren't podcast. That was like 2015, wasn't it? When Quantum
Break was indeed 2015, yeah. No.
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah,
Quantum Break was 2016.
2016.
Because that was the same year that Gears 4 came out and was Xbox Play Anywhere. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there was a certain segment of Xbox fans that threw a temper tantrum because they thought, what's the point of this? They didn't really see the broader vision. There's people that are upset that they brought them to Steam eventually. And you look at the Xbox Series X and S now, a console that's selling better than any Xbox console ever, and you don't even need it. You don't need the Xbox console to play any of Xbox's first-party games. You can play them all on PC if you want.
You can play them on a goddamn Steam Deck.
You can play them on your phone. You eventually play them just on your TV. Like, you don't need the Xbox console to play any of its games. And even with that in mind, it's still selling better than ever. And I would imagine if PlayStation was putting everything on PC day one, the PlayStation 5 would still sell out as fast as it could. I think
Sony, the truth is, Sony is losing money because they're selling PlayStations. PlayStations are selling out constantly. If they had their games day and date on PC, they'd be making way more money. It's not like the PlayStation would stop selling out. They're leaving money on the table by not supporting Windows.
I think maybe it's because they don't have the pipeline ready for that yet. Like Nixxes, they bought Nixxes, and Nixxes is doing all these ports. So I just don't think they have the pipeline in place right now to actually do that. And I think they will. I mean, clearly they're going to do it with the games as service titles, and eventually I think they'll do it with everything. But enough talking about that, because it's just good business. We have a few super chats, and then we're going to talk about this Brazil Activision thing. So if you're enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button. I see we're almost at 500. We're around 1,200 viewers, so thank you guys for being here. Subscribe if you're new. Appreciate it. Devon Greedy says, you guys miss a lot of IP that Xbox not own that can get remade, like Fallout. Indeed, I wasn't really thinking of Bethesda. And Maddie made a video kind of about this where, wasn't it something like with the 4090 like automatically improves, like they use Morrowind or something, right? Where it was like, here's what Morrowind looked before and here's what it looked like after.
Yeah, that was really.
And I think
cool.
Todd Howard has been very.
I
think Todd Howard has publicly said he's not necessarily a biggest fan of remasters. He kind of likes the game to live in the way it always was, and it's kind of a nostalgic thing. So, I if I'm sure people would love a remake of Fallout 3 or a good remaster of those games, and maybe Bethesda do stuff. I mean, they are apparently, at least according to rumors, Quake might be remade, which is very interesting if it's true. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about Bethesda. Jared says, just want to say I love the podcast, gents, and Jez is one of the most sincere, honest individuals I've ever met online. Much love from Cape Cod. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah. Like, it's honestly one of my guiding principles. It's like, just be completely honest, and if people don't like it, fine, but you will find your audience. There's no point faking it because people are smart and they can tell, which is why my policy has always been be completely honest, which is why I drink on the show, because that is my honest, true self. And Rand, I've run out of rum.
You've run out of rum. Okay.
I've run out of rum.
We're running around. Mr. Two Opinionated says, so all those second, third-party exclusives from all the generations from the old Xbox era won't get remakes? Missed opportunity if so, shaking my head. I mean, potentially. I just don't really see Xbox doing a lot of remakes or remasters. And if they do, they just offer them as like free updates. So, Devon Greedy also says, did you just call Trigger Studio Works Edgerunners expect to be garbage? Wow. I mean, I didn't say that because I didn't even know who Trigger Studios was. Direct your hatred at Jez for that one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I didn't know it was Trigger. Okay. So that's my excuse. I did not know it was Trigger who was making Edgerunners at the time. I just assumed it was going to be some American fake anime studio. Okay, I didn't know it was Trigger. So if I'd known it was Trigger, I would have had higher expectations. But there's that whole rumor about CD Projekt Red. Like, they wanted certain characters removed because they were worried how Western audience would perceive it, and Trigger was just like, no. We can make it how we want to make it. And I think that's the kind of the clout that Trigger has as one of the the most popular anime studios. Man, I'm so glad that anime turned out to be good. So glad. Good old Trigger, eh?
We have a super chat here from Lydia Santoso, and I don't know if to take this as a compliment or a bad thing. I'm gonna take it as a bad thing because it looks like it involves Special Nick. He says, Xbox 2 becoming like the Xbox era podcast. What does that mean? What does that mean? I need to
We,
know.
we talk
I don't
we
know.
talk about rumors too much.
I mean, we
I
talk
don't know.
about whatever. I mean, we talk about whatever we damn well want. But I mean, what does that mean, sir, Whittia? I know you're always here, and I appreciate your support. But what is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Like, are you comparing us to Special Nick? I don't understand. Like, I don't know how I should feel about this personally.
Maybe he means we're turning more Australian.
I don't know. I don't know what he means. Hopefully you can in chat espouse upon what you mean by such a statement. CMAD says console revenue market growth has come from microtransactions. Microsoft decided putting console in the cloud would allow access from multiple devices, enabling player growth. The problem is, like, microtransactions are sort of blocked on Google and Apple's side. So, like...
Yeah, that's the problem with cloud gaming. Is
Yeah.
because, man, it makes me sad because if Windows Phone was still with us, we wouldn't have this issue. But Google and Apple, mostly Google. Apple just blocks it outright. But the Google version of Xbox Game Pass, all the games that are in there have no microtransactions, which is bad for devs and it's bad for Microsoft because, you know, Google is anti-competitive. And the Samsung version of Xbox Game Pass has all that stuff, but not the Google Play version. And because nobody uses the Samsung store, because most people don't even know it exists, that's what we're left with. But I think that's a court case that'll come in the future, frankly speaking, which is another reason why being on Epic Games' good side is probably a smart business decision politically. But yeah, that's a whole nother discussion.
El Eneminapio says Sony once had a line of PCs called Vio. Do you think they will retap those waters after more PC gamers are available from PlayStation Studios?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because Sony sold Vio.
Oh,
They
did they?
spun off the Vio. Yes, they did. Sony sold the Vio brand, and they no longer own it, which means there will be no Sony Vio PCs. And honestly, it was a dumb decision by Sony. It actually annoys me because the Vio PCs were actually really good. And but there's no reason why Sony couldn't potentially get back into the game and potentially make... Honestly, they could make laptops under the PlayStation brand. I honestly don't know why they couldn't do that. I mean, why not? Screw it. They've already started making headsets and other stuff under...
monitors.
The brand
they have
now.
like a new monitor brand too, like premium monitors for the PC stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I can't remember what its name is, but they've started making PC accessories under a new brand. There's no reason why they couldn't potentially eventually branch out into making gaming PCs, because that's honestly where a lot of the core gaming market is these days. And if I was Sony, I would love to see Sony get back into the PC market, frankly. As someone who writes about PCs.
we got clarification from Whittia. He says the super chat was about talking about multimedia, TV, and animation.
Oh, is that what Nick likes?
I mean, I don't know if Nick's been talking about that on the thing, and you know, we were just talking about, like, hey, you look at what Sony's doing with their movies and TV shows. Like, if it's a big property, they're doing a TV show. They got, like I said, Last of Us on HBO, God of War coming to Amazon, Horizon TV show on Netflix. They got like a Gran Turismo movie, a Days Gone movie. So like anything that they think has potential, they're doing some sort of cross like media stuff. Xbox just has Halo, which was mixed. They got Grounded coming, which I think on Netflix, which it depends. That might be cool. Cyberpunk, the combination of having an update for the game tied with the anime, which people seem to really love, really helped out Cyberpunk in the same way that I think the Witcher TV show, even though the Witcher TV show was based on the books and had nothing to do with the games, people still watched the TV show and were like, oh, I'm going to go back and play this game that I really liked, or play the game for the first time, even though like that first season had nothing to do with like the Witcher game, right? Because it was all before that. And I think there is a Fallout TV show going on right now, right? Amazon has a Fallout TV show, but unfortunately,
yes,
there ain't going to be a Fallout game anytime soon. So that I don't know if that's a missed opportunity or just like, hey,
it is a missed opportunity.
It probably is, because you would love to have a Fallout TV show to come out, next to the TV show, the Fallout game next to the TV show, but it doesn't really seem like that's going to be the case. It just seems like this is going to be more and more happening in the future. More studios getting into, making TV shows and movies to help cross promote their games, right? The games get bigger. So, yeah. All right. Let's talk about the Brazil thing. I think it's been long enough. We still have more topics, but this Brazil thing is. I'm sure Jez.
Let's just make it
what?
Let's just make it a 5-hour podcast today. 5 hours, man. Let's do it.
But see, the longer this goes, the more tired I get. So like, eventually, I'm gonna get pooped. Because
what are you talking about? Isn't it like 3 p.m. for you?
I mean, it's 5, but you don't understand. Like doing a podcast for what is almost, I don't know, what is it? Almost 3 hours now.
Dude,
I mean, it takes a lot of energy. It takes
my
a
room
lot
is
from
literally
me. You're playing a video game right now.
Spinning.
Like whatever. Like,
but my room is.
That's because you're drinking.
Spinning. Yeah, my room is spinning, so you got no excuse. And yes, I am playing a video game, but I'm also reading chat as well.
Okay, Sith Lord says thanks for being a great guest on Primetime Gaming. Yeah, it was always a good time hanging out with Boom and everybody there. So the Brazil thing is interesting, although I don't know how much sway it's going to have on the FTC or the CMA or the EU. But I thought it was hilarious because Sony, as you all know, was telling the Brazilian Commission that they couldn't live without Call of Duty, right? They were basically on their knees with Call of Duty's phallus in their mouth, being like, it's a must-have, it's essential, it's its own genre, like all these amazing adjectives to describe Call of Duty. Like nobody could make this game at all, right? And they talked about Game Pass and how nobody could really compete with it. It would take all this money and all these years. It was the first whiff that we had smelled of Jim Ryan and PlayStation wanting this deal to get blocked. I mean, I figured they wanted it blocked, but it was like, oh, we thought everything would be handled behind the scenes. But this was kind of like the first public display of how they felt, right? And this is before them coming out and saying, the deal's bad for gamers and it's horrible for the video game industry, which Microsoft went and put up a website. And their website is kind of odd and weird because it's kind of just like, who's this really for? Sure, it's regulators, but you would be talking directly with them. So it seems to be more for consumers because it's consumer facing, and it's some of their points they make just aren't really well thought out. I get it. Maybe they just don't want to take any chances. Maybe they feel like Sony's points are someone's actually agreeing with them. What?
Do you know what it's for?
What's it for?
It's for setting narratives. It's for setting narratives, right? It's Microsoft not taking any chances. It's the off chance that a regulator could see that website and be like, "Oh yeah, they're right." Giving them something to point to, because honestly, a lot of regulators, they don't know jack shit about gaming, so they're just gonna they're gonna look to people like us and for information, and they're going to look to websites like that to do their jobs. And I think it's just Microsoft being smart and diligent and being like, yeah, we'll not take any chances on this shit. Oh my god, man, dude, I am so much better at Overwatch when I've had something to drink. I don't know what it is. I'll take some clips and I'll share it on Twitter, but I'm just I'm playing Moira right now and I'm just wrecking everyone. I've just team killed a whole bunch of dudes without even really trying. I'll capture this clip right now. I'm just a god. I don't know if I'm just assuming that I'm a god, but I don't know what it is. I'm just better at Overwatch when I'm drunk. But yeah, anyway, what are we talking about?
We were talking about Brazil, the website. The website. I think you maybe you said what you said.
The website is a bit weird. The website's a bit weird.
Yeah, it was a bit odd. It was a tad bit odd. Either way,
yeah, it is a bit odd.
Then we got the information that Jim, he'd be flying across the world, meet with leaders, Brussels to meet with the EU to voice concerns, maybe bring in the corpse of Phil Harrison with him, to be like, we have concerns over the deal. I mean,
oh dear,
was it
that's not very nice.
I mean, Stadia's dead, bro. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Phil Harrison's not.
I know, but You know what it's supposed to mean. Anyways, they approved the deal with no restrictions. A lot of people thought maybe if the deal does get approved, there'll be consent decrees. Basically, the government saying Call of Duty would have to be on PlayStation for X amount of years, or they can't raise the price of Game Pass, or what have you. But they did 6 points about why they're going to do it. I'm just going to read a couple. They said, number 4, with regard to the possibility of closing the downstream markets, the analysts pointed out that despite their relevance and popularity, Activision Blizzard games, and in particular the Call of Duty series, would not be essential assets to the performance of Microsoft's current and potential competitors in the console and digital game the digital game markets. Distribution. Use your words. yeah, I know. Whatever. You guys know, I've talked about this before. Have problems speaking. Was in speech therapy for years. Yeah. Okay. Thus, even if Activision Blizzard game catalog were to become exclusive to the Microsoft ecosystem after the transaction, they don't consider that such exclusivity would not result in a substantial reduction in levels of competition in the downstream markets, even if it could translate into competitive advantages for Microsoft. And this is where the rubber hits the road. Furthermore, it is important to highlight that the central objective of CADE's activities is the protection of competition as a means of promoting the well-being of Brazilian customers, and not the defense of the particular interest of specific competitors. Then they go on to say, after all, one cannot lose sight of the fact that the holder of the legal assets protected by law is the collectivity and not the competitor, economic agent as an individual entity. In this sense, although it is recognized that part of the users of PlayStation consoles could decide to migrate to Xbox in the event that Activision Blizzard games, and especially Call of Duty, become exclusive to the Microsoft ecosystem, they do not believe that such a possibility represents in itself a risk to competition in the console market as a whole. Now, they're taking shots. They're taking shots at Sony. Maybe even taking shots at the CMA, because when the CMA came out, they were talking about I don't know, this might be bad. This might be bad for consumers because it might be bad for PlayStation. It might affect PlayStation's dominance. And if it affects PlayStation dominance, maybe that's not a good thing for consumers. And we know why Sony doesn't want the deal to go through. They don't want Microsoft to get any more powerful, get another publisher this size, get Call of Duty, have the exclusive marketing, have the game on Game Pass to grow that, because we know they don't like Game Pass. So they don't want Game Pass to get more and more subscribers. They don't want Xbox to sell more and more consoles, to put them more of an equal footing, because that would force Sony to actually have to compete really, really hard with Xbox in a way that they really haven't in a long time, because they're just used to the Xbox that couldn't tie their shoelaces and would trip as they're walking down the street, putting out 60 Metacritic games and talking about DRM and having literally everybody make fun of you, right? That's the Microsoft and Xbox that Sony wanted to compete with, not this one, not the one that has the full backing of Satya Nadella and the board of directors, and that thinks of gaming as a pillar, like a core pillar of the Microsoft business. Xbox has always kind of been looked at as the red-haired stepchild, right? Now it's looked at as this is something that could make us a ton of money in the future, be a pillar, just the Azure and Enterprise and Office 365 and that stuff. So they're saying, listen, we're here to protect consumers and competition. We're not looking after, competitors' specific bottom lines, so to speak. And then, they had a little bit more to say. They say that considering the huge popularity of Call of Duty, well, no, hold on. They said, damn. Oh, they go on to say that, as already seen, Nintendo does not currently rely on content from Activision Blizzard to compete in the market. Because remember, Sony basically was saying how important Call of Duty was to them, and it was well, Nintendo doesn't even have it, and they're doing pretty damn well, so do you really need it? And they go, in turn, Sony has several predicates: strength of the world's leading brand for more than 20 years, extensive experience in the sector, largest user base, largest installed base of consoles, robust catalog of exclusive games, partnerships with multiple publishers, brand loyal consumers, etc., which would contribute to maintaining the competitiveness of PlayStation in a possible post-operation scenario, even in the face of possible loss of access to Blizzard, to access to the content. So even if a hypothetical scenario where Xbox changes their thought, right? They said we're going to keep everything on PlayStation, but maybe they're like, screw it, screw Jim Ryan, or maybe Jim Ryan doesn't even want Call of Duty anymore. Maybe he wants to stick it to Xbox and being like, you know what, we don't even want this. You guys are going to take the hit because clearly it won't be as popular. So even if all those games went exclusive, Brazil's basically saying that's not gonna stop. That's not gonna basically stop you or like stop you from being able to compete because you literally have the world's largest gaming brand. You've been the leader for 20 some odd years. You have the biggest user base with the largest install base of consoles. You got all these bangers from all these developers that you brag about. Where you got all these partnerships with all these third-party, publishers for exclusive games and stuff, and PlayStation has developed this sort of great brand loyalty among their fans. So it's like, even if all these games went exclusive, that doesn't mean Microsoft is suddenly going to leapfrog you or that you won't be able to compete. Like, you still have all the things needed to essentially still be number one. So it's almost kind of like, what are you really complaining about? Like, you're overblowing the importance to Call of Duty to your bottom line and everything. And I don't know, it is pretty much a systematic destruction of Sony's major points one by one, for them saying, like, even with Game Pass, they're like, yeah, even if you put everything in Game Pass and it was exclusive, sure, it would be a competitive advantage. But is it such a competitive advantage that would require a government agency to come in and regulate and block? And they're like, no, we don't think so. So, granted, I don't know if this is going to have any bearing on what the other three agencies think. I think Xbox can use this ruling to kind of help their arguments with the others. But I thought it was great because you had Sony saying all this stuff, and then the regulators, who basically looked at it, analyzed the entire market from their angle, and came up with it and basically saying, yeah, what you're saying isn't really true, and what Xbox is saying or Microsoft is factual. Like, nobody else, like, even because I even see reports that the EU have kind of sent out a questionnaire to 100 companies or whatever that have a stake in this in some manner. It really seems like the only one that really has an issue is Sony and Google, which it's odd because, like, Google didn't when they talked to Brazil, but now they do, right? So the only one that has an issue is Sony because, yeah, that affects them, like, their bottom line, but, like, everybody else doesn't because there's so many different games, and maybe even, like, EA's talked about the idea of, like, this could present an opportunity for us because what if Call of Duty is removed from PlayStation? Maybe that means Battlefield gets higher, I'm just saying, like, to them, it's like, if Call of Duty is removed, that's a competitor to Battlefield that's removed on a platform. Maybe, Battlefield becomes bigger or what have you. Like, there's all the other companies are looking at it like, nah, like, Call of Duty's got plenty of competition. There's plenty of developers out there in the world. Even Cade used the example that you really don't need, like, multi-million-dollar budgets because Minecraft at one point was made by just a group of people with no budget and became, like, the biggest thing in the world. So, I don't know. I thought Among Us. Yeah, Among Us.
Among Us has dropped off now, but it was for a little while. It just blew up out of nowhere, and it's just basically a flash game. It's the industry is not as... Sony's basically doing its due diligence at the end of the day. Sony's basically doing what it's meant to do, which is defend its shareholders' interests. And I think deep down, Sony, well, not even deep down, I think in reality, Sony knows they're not going to be able to block this deal. And I think Sony also, I wrote a whole ass article about it. Sony knows they're not losing Call of Duty. What they're worried about is the clout. They're worried about being able to dictate whether games are all $70 as standard. They're worried about being able to dictate whether or not they can charge a tax for crossplay. Because you have to imagine, if Epic Games, who control Fortnite, and Microsoft, who control Activision, if they both get together and say, look, we're not paying the crossplay tax anymore, you've got to get rid of it. That's not going to that's not going to make Sony very happy, because that eliminates ultimately the purchase argument to buy a PlayStation for a lot of people, which is, my friend has a PlayStation, so I need a PlayStation, If you don't need to buy a PlayStation to play with your friends anymore, that kind of hurts Sony, and that's one narrative purchase argument they don't really want to lose control of, which is fair enough. At the end of the day, it makes a lot of sense why they'd want to restrict the damage over that purchase argument. But at the same time, that's not something you can say to regulators. You can't say to regulators, "Oh, we need Call of Duty so we can stop people playing with their friends," because that's fucking over consumers. That's literally what the regulators are there to prevent, is that Sony's anti-competitive behavior, which is blocking crossplay, fucks over consumers. At the end of the day, that's not something Sony can argue in court, which is why I don't think Sony wants this to go to court. I think at the end of the day, Sony's doing the bare minimum it needs to do to make its shareholders happy and show that they're quote unquote fighting it or whatever. But at the end of the day, they know it's going to go through because none of the arguments they can possibly make against this deal happening make any sense. None of them make any sense. And Sony will be fine. For any PlayStation fan who's worried about this deal, they will be fine. This deal is more about PC. It's more about cloud. It's more about mobile. It's not going to affect console at all. Namely, because Diablo 4 is still going to launch on PlayStation. Call of Duty is still going to launch on PlayStation. What this might mean is that you can play with your friends who have an Xbox. What this might mean is that you get a StarCraft shooter which you can play on another platform, which wouldn't have existed otherwise. I think it's just Sony doing their due diligence. I think it's literally, there's nothing else to be said about it. There's no argument they can make that makes any sense against this deal. There's no argument anyone can make against this deal. I think it's just going. We're all just going through the motions. We're all. I got to play the game.
We got about another 5 months of it, which hopefully there's more drama because I'm here for it. I want more.
We really need more drama.
You balance me out. You balance out because you're just like whatever. But like I think this is great. I think it's funny. I think it's hysterical. I
just got drunk. Play the game.
Yeah. We got a super chat here from CMAD saying, once the ABK deal closes, could Microsoft then take a legal approach against Apple? Google Store is using the Epic case as a roadmap to break their models. I don't know. I don't really see Microsoft like suing Apple. Can you?
Eventually.
Maybe. That would be an interesting court case. Very interesting.
I hope it happens. I would see now. That is one court case that I would love to see happen. I'd love to see Microsoft suing Apple to get Xbox Game Pass on the iOS store. They could do it in Europe because Europe is one country, one trade bloc that is not a fan of Apple's business practices. One of the big things in the whole tech space right now is that the European Union is forcing Apple to ditch its stupid lightning cable. The lightning cable literally has no benefits to anyone but Apple. And the European Union has just been like, yeah, okay, the lightning cable is dumb. Let's make it illegal. And they're literally making the lightning cable illegal. And all future iPhones will have to use USB-C, which is how it should be. Because the lightning cable is just dumb. It's just lame. It doesn't serve any purpose but to make Apple money. And that's similarly to Apple's App Store restrictions, which block Xbox Game Pass. So if I was Microsoft, after this deal finally goes through, I would look into suing Apple in the European Union and being like, look, Apple is blocking our app on their App Store out of anti-competitiveness and hurting consumers. I think you guys should crack open the App Store so we can sell our cloud gaming platform on the App Store. And the European Union probably will sit up and say, you know what? That's fair enough because it helps consumers. So, that's my rant about Apple. Okay. Fuck Apple.
Dark CI in the Super Chat says, Jez and Rand feel like Microsoft need to make the powerhouse engine for the future to come if they don't want railed on UE5 for all the gen and beyond. I mean, I could see them just relying on Unreal. A lot of their studios already do. I guess, like id's going to do what id does with id Tech. I mean, I think even Arcane move from their own engine to Unreal for Redfall. So you just might see more studios just use
That's true.
Unreal. What?
Yeah, it's Unreal just seems to be the engine du jour right now. And I think like what you said earlier, you said like about how if you are hiring contractors, it's good if your contractors know exactly what engine you're using. And if you're using an internal engine like Slipspace, chances are a contractor ain't gonna know jack shit about Slipspace. But chances are they might know shit about Unreal Engine and they might know shit about Unity, you know. And, generally speaking, AAA games are not made in Unity. If they're made in anything, they're either made in an in-house engine or they're made in Unreal Engine in 2022. So, and Microsoft seems to like to use contractors a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be in the industry, there seems to be a lurch towards contractors. And there are certain markets where contractors are just sort of normalized. Santa Monica seems to be one. Vancouver seems to be another. A lot of Vancouver studios use Unreal Engine because a lot of the contractors are familiar with Unreal Engine. So maybe that's the mentality that a lot of game companies have right now, that it's just easier to use Unreal Engine. So I don't know. Like id Tech is not used for a lot of games outside of id Software. I always see this argument come up like, why doesn't Microsoft use id Tech? Why doesn't Microsoft use id Tech for its in-house games? There's not a lot of games that use id Tech, and we don't know. I'm not a developer, so I can't exactly comment on what id Tech is actually good for. Maybe id Tech is not very good at streaming textures or something. Maybe id Tech is not good for open world games. Was Rage 2 on id Tech engine? I don't think it was. Wasn't it on like Avalanche's engine or something?
I
don't know.
Don't remember.
Yeah. But I don't know for sure. But it seems like id Tech is not necessarily prepared for public consumption. But I don't know. Maybe it could be. Because one thing that I've always said about GameStack is that it lacks an engine. So wouldn't it make sense to make id Tech that engine? I don't know.
It would. Nomad says the fact that got passed with no restrictions is huge, and Brazil was the regulator that held up the Disney Fox deal, so they have a track record. I did not know that
cool.
that they were the one that held up the Disney Fox deal. Yeah. So, I mean, what else we got here? The Dead Space gameplay trailer looked incredible. Like, I didn't know. I really haven't been paying much attention to the remake. I just know I want to play it. And I think I played Dead Space 3 or 4 times. I didn't know that Isaac had a voice in this one. Because I was watching the trailer. I'm like, wait a minute, Isaac talks? Because in the first game, he's a silent protagonist. But they got the voice actor who they hired for 2 to come and, do line. So, like, to me, it's like, oh, and they do seem like there's going to be new stuff. So it's like, oh, well, that's cool because that's something new. Like, Isaac's going to talk when he was silent before. That game looks incredible. And, bro, we got a lot of horror games coming out. Survival horror. Like, Callisto Protocol, December 2nd, which I think the dev said is like 12 to 14 hours long. And then, like, January 27th, I believe, is Dead Space, which is, one of the best survival horror games ever. And then in March, you got like Resident Evil 4, which is one of the greatest games of all time being remade. Like we survival horror fans are eating. We're definitely eating. Also, Steam Deck is now available without reservations. I saw you like, should I get one? Should I not get one? I don't know. I have one Steam game, Among Us. Like, there's no reason for me to get a Steam Deck. And I'm not going to get Steam Deck.
You have one Steam game?
I own Among Us on Steam. That's it. I know nothing else on Steam. That's it. One game. One game on Steam. Because what's the point?
You are weird, bro.
Bro, I'm not a PC gamer, bro. Xbox. That's where it's at, bro. Xbox or PlayStation.
I've got like hundreds of games on Steam.
Xbox
no,
or
it's funny.
PlayStation,
I've got loads of games on Steam. I always buy Steam games in sales, but then I never play them.
Think of all the money that you saved. Think of all the money that you saved.
Oh, man.
And also, NetherRealm is celebrating 30 years of Mortal Kombat. And I wanted to talk about this briefly because Mortal Kombat meant a lot to me growing up. It is my favorite fighter. And I might have told this story before, and I'll tell it again. I got into more, obviously the first game. It was one of the reasons like I wanted the Genesis, because you remember the Genesis was the one with blood.
Mega Drive.
Or whatever. The Genesis was the one with blood, and Nintendo didn't have blood. And so I was always happy I had the Genesis because I got the real version of Mortal Kombat. And then Mortal Kombat 2 is the one where I kind of started playing it at the arcades, but it's not my favorite. My favorite's Mortal Kombat 3 or Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. So when Mortal Kombat 3 or Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 came out, I have about a mile from me is a bowling alley. It's still there, but like back then, they had an arcade, right? And they had all these different arcade cabinets. And so sometimes me and my buddies would go there. This was a little bit later when I was like 15 or 16. We'd go there and we'd just hang around there, play some games, and smoke some cigarettes because we thought we were cool, right? Like, we were going to go to smoke. You know, we're not supposed to be smoking. So we'd go to the bowling alley, this kind of dingy... I mean, the bowling alley was nice, but it was always kind of dimly lit. And like you'd walk in and have that like that bowling alley smell, or like that particular smell. You'd walk in, you strut into the bowling alley, and we take a left to the arcade. We go in there and we just like start puffing cigarettes like it was nobody's business, right? But before that, when I was in grammar school, when Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 came out, or Mortal Kombat 3 came out, I would ride my bike the mile up there, chain it to something, and then take all the quarters I had, and I would go in there and I would play Ultimate Mortal Kombat, right? Or Mortal Kombat 3. And I was really good with Cabal. And I'd be like, all right, like each time I go up there, I'd want to pick a new character. So like next to this bowling alley was kind of like a pharmacy, but not like, it wasn't a small pharmacy. It was a bigger one that had a bunch of other stuff, but they had like a magazine rack, right? So I'd go in there and I'd look and I'd find the magazine that had like all the Mortal Kombat 3 fatalities for each character. And I'd kind of like look at it and I'd like try to memorize the fatalities and then run back to the bowling alley to try to pull off the fatalities against the CPU or against real people. And how I had all my quarters, well, I don't want to say this too, you know, it's just like my dad had all this change because he would be working and he'd basically, you know, drive through tolls or whatever. And every day he'd come home and he'd have this like 1 gallon milk container of change with quarters, pennies, dimes, nickels, right? Just in his closet. He'd just fill them up all year. And at the end of the year, he'd dump them out and get money for them or whatever, probably to buy presents or what have you. But one day I noticed he had those coins. So, you know, it was like my parents would like take my younger brothers and sisters to, you know, basketball or like soccer or volleyball and stuff, and I'd be home alone. So I'd sneak into my parents' room and I'd open up that closet door and I'd pull out that a milk carton and I'd just grab a whole bunch of quarters and I would just run to my bike. I'd pedal up there and play until the quarters were gone, and then like get back before anybody knew I even left. So yeah. Damn. So I don't know how many quarters I've taken. Gangsta. I don't know how many quarters I've taken from my dad over the course of time, but like that's how I played all those games. I would like nobody was around. I'd go in there and I'd take a whole bunch of quarters, and then when the carnival would come around here, gangsta. When the carnival would come over here, you know, they would lay out the tarp and put all the arcade cabinets down, like the Simpsons and X-Men. I'd make sure to have like, I wouldn't ride the rides. I'd be in the arcade playing the games the whole time with all the quarters that I'd taken. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, like,
a literal gangster. I am shocked and appalled at your reckless disregard for the rules and common sense of common decency. Wow.
Humdrunk says, Rand, you're a thief, bro. Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, I guess I stole from my dad, but like, you know, I'm just trying to tell the story, you know, of so like I played so much Mortal Kombat based off of like, now they're calling me Randall Thief. Great.
There's
Randall
literally
Thief.
like the only arcade game in my entire town when I was a kid was Time Crisis 1 in the cinema. That was the only arcade machine in my entire town. And actually no, sorry, House of the Dead. There's House of the Dead and Time Crisis. So like that's literally what I had to choose from. Whenever I went to see a movie, I rocked it with some Time Crisis and rocked it with some House of the Dead. But I think like because I'm significantly younger than you, Rand, I think arcade machines had already died at that point, sadly. Because I am significantly younger than you, several decades younger than Rand
several
over here.
decades. Several
decades.
Did they ever find out? Yeah, they found out, and I didn't get in trouble or anything. I mean, I think they knew. I mean, it's just quarters at the end of the day, and it wasn't like I did it every
Quarters
single
a
day.
lot of money, man.
I know, but like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to be. I'm just trying to give you guys like a glimpse of Randall as a young person, Randall young, Randall kid, Randall teenager, Randall Mortal Kombat. Being like this, I spent a lot of time up at the arcade because I took all those damn quarters. So, yeah, that's the Mortal Kombat. It's one of my favorite franchises because I spent so much time in the arcade playing it. We have a member, Andrew 4983, for 5 months. He's been a member. He says, Jez, come to Brazil and have some feijoada. It's a large bowl of black bean stew with all sorts of pork and beef meat. Hey, Caperhinus on me.
That sounds delicious. I've actually looked into Brazilian cuisine. I used to be obsessed with a band called Sepultura, which is sort of Brazilian. So like there was a time when I was a teenager, I was really obsessed with Brazilian culture. So I was really, really obsessed with Sepultura, which is a Brazilian band. Back in the day, and Brazil's awesome. I got a special place in my heart for Brazilian people.
So yeah, I believe that's the part of the podcast where we got all the topics through. Pong Soul says Dark Rand started early, and we're gonna get to the questions. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to put them in chat. I thank each and every one of you for being here. Make sure you hit the like button before you leave. And we're going to start out with some questions from our Patreons, which if you're a patron and you're at the right tier, you can always ask some questions, which will get, answered 100% for sure during the show. Links in the description, patreon.com/Xbox2, or Little Jez has just put it in the chat. We appreciate each and every one of you who signs up. It means the world to us. I didn't think we'd get to as many as we have. And look out for maybe an exclusive show on Patreon next week. We have Achievement, who's the Patreon producer for this week, saying, could publishers have a different response to regulators depending on the region asking? Well, I think so, because like Brazil's looking at like Brazil, right? So they're not as big as a market as the US or the UK or Europe. So they're looking at different factors and different things. And I would imagine the same thing goes for publishers. Like maybe one's bigger somewhere else, so like they'd want to defend their position. So I do believe like it does matter the region. So yeah, PP.
Yeah, you've got to think like for example, Activision employs thousands of employees in Europe. So the European Union will want to look at it from the perspective of how is this going to affect thousands of people in our jobs market? Because all of Activision Blizzard's customer service, practically all of it, is based in Europe, whether it's Ireland or France. I believe France and Ireland is where most of Activision Blizzard's customer support is. So the European Union will look at it in a completely different context to that of Brazil or maybe even Saudi Arabia. So for Saudi Arabia, it's no big deal. But for example, at least, but the European Union would be like, oh well, how does this affect thousands of our citizens who are employed in the European Union? So they're definitely going to look at it from different contexts But at the end of the day, there's no evidence to suggest that Microsoft will treat their employees any worse. Hopefully, it'll mean they'll be treated better, and they'll want to get guarantees out of Microsoft that they will be treated better. So that's the context that a lot of that stuff will play out in, I would think.
Okay. P. Bro King says, news about game studios or publishers from Germany. I don't know if you mean you're from Germany or if you want to know about game studios and publishers from Germany. I don't know any, but maybe Jez does from he's here. So, Jez, do you know anything about any of this stuff from Germany?
I actually don't at the moment. Isn't Crytek a German company?
They might be, yeah.
It was actually, yeah. The German game industry is interesting. There's not that many big game devs in Germany that I'm aware of. There's a couple of good indie devs in Germany, but it's kind of weird. Germany feels like a market that should be bigger in gaming in terms of like games that are actually produced, but it feels smaller compared to like France and Poland for whatever reason. I think part of that is because of the historic censorship. There's like a weird stigma about video games in Germany that comes from their government sort of reluctance to approve games. There's a lot of games that are still censored in Germany even now. They've gotten a lot more liberal with it more recently in recent years. But like they call it like Killerspiel, which means like killer game, you know, where like there's this almost like a stigma around shooters and stuff like that, because Germany's a country that occasionally has like these shooting rampages and stuff similar to America, not as frequently as America. Nowhere gets it as frequently as America, but Germany, like when there is a school shooting or something like that in Germany, video games are often blamed similarly to America, you know, and there's this kind of weird stigma. Hopefully that's gradually dissolving now. Like a lot of games that were banned are no longer banned. Like Gears of War was banned in Germany, for God's sake, which is laughable to me because you don't even fight humans in that game. You fight monsters, which to me couldn't possibly be more like innocent, you know. But that's just the way it is, you know. In some countries, they're sort of slow on the uptake about games, and depends on who's in power and who's in government, like, and boomers and stuff like that. But Germany's gotten a lot better with it lately, and maybe that means the video game industry will flourish here. I don't know. But as for games being developed here, I honestly have no idea. I believe, isn't Farming Simulator a German game? I think,
Bro,
off the top of my head.
No idea.
Yeah,
No
I
clue.
think Giants. I can't remember the name of the studios. I think it might be Giants, the name of the studio. I think they might be German. I could be wrong about that. Someone in chat might know, but yeah. Germany should expand in gaming, I think, because there's a lot of creativity here that's not being tapped into.
Elijah Vasquez, Patreon question is: any word on the next Wolfenstein game, or any quality of life updates such as fixing the game DVR, more achievement challenges, etc.? I mean,
well, on the Alpha Ring, the game DVR actually does seem improved for clips and trimming. Like, there was a little while where trimming game clips on Xbox Game DVR was just straight up broken, like it wouldn't work and stuff. But I've been like trimming clips and sharing them on Twitter all day without any issues on the latest Alpha Skip Ahead Ring. But with regards to some of the other stuff that people were talking about, like an overhaul of the Xbox Game DVR, I've got a conspiracy theory, man.
Yeah, you've
I've
talked
got
about
a conspiracy theory.
You've talked about it.
Yeah.
Clip Champ. Yep. You've talked about it.
Yeah, Clip Champ.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So,
You've talked about it like the last 2 podcasts.
Well, I'm going to talk about it again.
Okay, go
how
right
about
ahead.
How about them apples, bro?
All right.
How about them apples, bro?
All right.
Crytek and Deck 13 are German. Yeah, so there's Deck 13 who make they make a Lords of the Fallen and the Surge. So I guess there's that. But my conspiracy theory about the Xbox Game DVR is that Microsoft are going to implement Clip Champ on Xbox. I have no evidence to suggest this will actually happen, but The reason I think this is going to happen is because Microsoft actually invested in buying Clipchamp, which is actually really good. Like, I've been using Clipchamp a lot recently, just to edit small clips, do little trims on Xbox, on Windows and stuff. Not sort of without having to open Adobe Premiere or Adobe Rush, which use a lot of system resources. Clipchamp is baked into Windows 11. Like, if you go to a video clip and then like right click and go to edit, it gives you Clipchamp as an option, because Clipchamp's like pre-installed on Windows 11. It's a web-based video editing app, and it's actually really good. Like, it's getting really good. They've got lots of new features. 1080p uploads are free now, which is like one big complaint was that 1080p clips were a paid feature before, which is ridiculous, right? But they made it free now, with a watermark at least. But if you're on Office 365, which a lot of people are, I know I am. If you're on Office 365, you get a lot of the features for free, or included. So my conspiracy theory is that Microsoft's going to incorporate Clipchamp into the Xbox eventually. Like, it does seem like Clipchamp has gotten a lot more lightweight recently. Like, it feels like it's not as resource intensive as it used to be. And if it is going to come to Xbox, one of the things they need to reduce is how much RAM it uses, because the limitations on RAM on Xbox are quite strict, which is one reason why Clipchamp doesn't work right now on Edge, is because it just uses too much damn RAM. So hopefully Clipchamp will replace the game DVR on Xbox eventually, and that's my conspiracy theory. Hopefully we'll see that come to play in the future, and who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
As for the Wolfenstein game, I mean, I hope we see it soon. I hope they announce it. You know, I was of the opinion that they're working on Indiana Jones, and they kind of sideline Wolfenstein 3 in favor of it. Others have said maybe they're working on it concurrently or at the same time, or that Wolfenstein is almost finished, or Wolfenstein. I know I say it wrong, but
Stein, it's Wolfenstein.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully we see it soon, because I need the end of the trilogy, man. I need the end. And Eric L says, if you guys were running Xbox marketing, how would you market the console this fall? Knowing that Xbox lacks a AAA first-party game and doesn't have a marketing deal with the blockbuster third-party game like COD, maybe have a Game Pass deal? I mean, they'll probably market it as, if I were to guess, they'll market Game Pass as a way to play all these games, and, you know, they'll market like the Series S as the lowest entry point in the next gen. If they actually do any marketing, the lowest price, like, hey, get a Series S for $250 with Game Pass, 100 plus games or whatever. That would be the angle I would use, because what else are you going to use? You can't use Call of Duty, which is such a boon for PlayStation, and you don't have anything, because PlayStation's going to have God of War and Call of Duty that they can market. So, yeah, I would just be like, cheapest system and all the games from Game Pass is how I would market it.
I would market it by lowering the price of the Xbox Series S by $50.
Yeah,
which is
$250.
what they've done this week.
Maybe bundle it with Game Pass, or bundle it with the game, or do what they're doing with bundle with the controller. That might work.
Yeah, bundle that shit, because you know, at the end of the day, there's no AAA games launching, whatever, but you can slam home the value argument, because arguably Xbox Game Pass plus Xbox Series S equals massive value. So that's how I would do it. You know, the Xbox Series X is going to sell out regardless, so there's no need to market that anyway. But the Series S kind of markets itself as a value proposition, so that's what I would do. You know? Yeah. But I'm not Aaron Greenberg, who was recently promoted.
As well as Todd Hines was recently promoted as global head of publishing at Bethesda. Not Todd Howard. Pete Hines. Pete Hines.
Todd Hines.
Yes, Pete Hines was promoted, and then someone else was promoted to his position. So sounds like Pete's kind of in charge of Bethesda now, in a way, which is
Pete's
cool.
In charge of publishing. Yeah, no. Pete Hines, is in charge of publishing. He deserves it, man. Pete Hines is a boss. You know, he's
and now he is the boss.
And now he is the boss, yeah. And that's kind of cool, I think, because it kind of feels like Todd Howard wants to create and doesn't necessarily want to be involved in the day-to-day BS. But maybe it's better if Pete Hines deals with the sort of business aspects of the business, while Todd Howard is allowed to, tell us sweet little lies. Tell us sweet little lies, Todd. Little lies, tell us sweet little lies. That's what Todd's about, right? Oh man.
Yeah. Let's see what else. We have super chat here from Justin Miller. Says, word is we have Miles Down PA scheduled for What the Fun pod soon. You two better get your video gaming debate gloves on for the future. I mean, I'm ready. We me and Jez on there to debate some stuff. I'm ready. Look who
I'm
it is.
down for debating.
Hargeet Channy
like
shows up and says, you can't say I didn't watch your podcast. Good evening, Jez. Hargeet did show
buddy.
up to say hi. Thanks for being here, Hargeet. Andre, member for 5 months, says, Jez, come to Brazil. Oh, I read that already. He said come to Brazil, and he's going to give some feijoada. Wolf of Iowa says, Joe Biden pardoning all weed possession. Call him Master Keef. Hargeet says, oh, sure, don't even read my super chat. I just did, Hargeet. I'm sorry. We were talking about other things. I eventually got back to it like I always do. Whittia says, continuing the multimedia theme, if they made a TV show about your world, what would it be like? Drama, comedy, documentary, reality show? Mine would probably be like a tragedy. I don't know. Maybe like a dramedy? I don't know.
A dramedy?
A dramedy, yeah.
Drama comedy?
Yes.
Is that a thing? Mine would be a slice of life anime. With kawaii people being kawaii and doing kawaii things. That'd be me, bro. Be an anime by Trigger. Oh dear. It'd be kind of like Hidamari Sketch or K-On! That'd be my, for the weebs out there.
What else we got here? We got Virus Phantom saying, off topic question, but will they ever bring back FPS boost for other games, or is it done for good? Well, the back compat team.
I think they'll get back to it eventually. I think a lot of the dev hours right now are taken up by xCloud. We talked about it before. I think a lot of the dev hours are taken up by xCloud, improving the algorithm, improving the speed of the video encoder and stuff like that. I was actually playing xCloud earlier. I was playing a game called Proteus. Have you played Proteus, Rand?
No, but I do want to play because it looks cool.
Dude, Proteus is absolutely sick. So Proteus is kind of like a retro inspired Doom like. It's kind of like it's like it's hard to describe. It's like 2.5D. It's really cool, man. You gotta play it. It's super stylish, retro. Plays like Doom, gory as hell, feels great, and it runs really well on xCloud. And I was playing it on xCloud earlier, and I was thinking, like, man, the algorithm feels better again because I can happily play a shooter on xCloud. So a lot of the dev hours are going towards improving xCloud right now and sort of trying to match the quality with NVIDIA GeForce Now, because obviously Stadia's shutting down. No more Stadia. Stadia's dead. So Microsoft's chief competitor in the space is GeForce Now. And GeForce Now is generally regarded as the cloud gaming king in terms of latency and quality and algorithm speed. So a lot of the dev hours are going towards that right now. But there is a future where xCloud is just flawless. Maybe, hopefully, probably. And at that point, I think a lot of the things that people want to see them work on, like FPS boost, backwards compatibility, and maybe the operating system itself on Xbox, maybe that's the point where things start to improve on the console side. But I do get why they're investing so much in cloud right now, because that's ultimately where they're going to be able to expand the business, make more money, and bring us more games, and maybe pay off that Activision Blizzard acquisition. So that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. $72 billion. Why can't they give me $72 billion, Rand?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. We got Thaneros saying, "Do you think every Xbox game studio will actually release a game on the Series S and X?" I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't, unless you mean like one of them's so far away that they won't release until next gen. But even still, cross gen probably be a thing. Unless you mean like exclusive Series X and S. I mean,
I've actually like if we get into the point where we need to start thinking about the mid-gen upgrade,
if there is going to be one.
Like, yeah, it's interesting to think about. Like, will there be a mid-gen upgrade? I think there will be, but it's kind of like a question of when. When will there be a mid-gen upgrade and stuff like that? But
yeah,
next gen is still far away, and I think like the chip shortage could make this generation artificially longer than probably expected. If we're in a normal cycle where the chip shortage wasn't necessarily that bad, or whether we weren't in sort of wartime, because we're kind of in wartime right now, maybe things would be different. But we're in a situation where the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 can't sell fast enough. They can't meet demand. So it's kind of like, why would you even bother with a mid-gen upgrade? Like, looking at the Nintendo Switch, for example, a lot of people are constantly like, where's the Nintendo Switch Pro? Where's the 4K Nintendo Switch? It's like, if you're Nintendo, why do you need a Nintendo Pro? They're literally selling Nintendo Switch hand over fist. They're like, it's literally like, why bother? Everyone wants a Nintendo Switch. It's the hottest bloody gaming console on earth right now. Do they need to make a 4K version? Not really. So with the chip shortage, I think a lot of things are going to be slowed down. So yeah, it's an interesting time for gaming.
The man who got them horns says, "Hey Jez, what's up with Contraband?"
Contraband. Well, Contraband's still in development. I haven't heard anything about it for quite a long time now. It's still in development though. They're for those who don't know, Contraband is an Xbox exclusive smuggling game. It's based around smuggling and set in a fictional island in Southeast Asia, inspired by like Indonesia and places like that. I don't know a huge amount about the current state of development, but there are rumors that it's been delayed. Like, originally, I believe it was actually supposed to come out in 2022, much like Tatanka was originally targeting 2022. But then we got the pandemic, and everything's been delayed and messed around and pushed back and stuff like that. I think Microsoft ultimately, they want these kind of games like Starfield and Contraband to be as good as they can be. I don't think they want to be in a situation where they're constantly shipping games that aren't ready, constantly shipping games that don't hit a certain score on Metacritic. And if that means some of them have to be delayed, then so be it, because they've got so much stuff in the pipeline that it kind of doesn't matter, especially if they end up with Activision Blizzard. They'll have so many games in development that it's okay to delay Starfield. It's okay to delay Contraband. It's okay to delay Project Dragon and all the other kind of games that are coming out. So, I might write a report on some of the stuff I know about Contraband at some point in the near future, because there is stuff I know about Contraband that isn't out there yet. But I'm pretty excited for that game, and you should be as well.
What else we got here? Rambling Gamer Guy says, "Do y'all think the Xbox fans sometimes want acquisitions too much? I get wanting more in-house studios, but I feel like people get so wrapped up in acquisitions that they forget to focus on Xbox making games." I mean, people always want more, I feel. And, acquisitions are entirely separate than the studios that make the games, so it's not like one, I think, takes away from the other. And also, you have Microsoft out there talking about acquisitions and future acquisitions. So, same thing with Sony. So, like, when they talk about, yeah, we're going to continue to do this, of course fans are going to speculate. Right? At least that's the way I see it.
Yeah. I think, I kind of get the sentiment that Microsoft constantly talks about acquisitions, and we're still in sort of situation where they're still not delivering AAA games on a regular cadence, But we are going to get to that point where it's like we're going to have so many games that we won't even know what to play. I think like that is maybe next year, 2024 definitely. We're going to be in this situation where it's just so much to play that we don't even know what to play, you know. So at the end of the day, the team that makes acquisitions are not the same team that makes games. So they can kind of overlap and do different things simultaneously, concurrently. So I don't think it's a big deal that people speculate, and you know, sometimes it's just kind of fun to think about acquisitions, because one of the benefits of an acquisition is that Microsoft's goals are different from what platform a publisher's goals. Um, Microsoft, as a company that is making a subscription service where they need to cater to every single niche possible, they have different goals to a publisher whose ultimate goal is to just make money. You know, especially if you're a publicly traded company, your goal is to just make money. Whereas, like, if you're Microsoft running a subscription service, maybe there's a situation where it's like, oh, this nostalgic game makes a bit more sense. You know, of course, this is speculative. Because there's not a huge amount of evidence that Microsoft will actually do that, but it kind of shakes things up a little bit and sort of presents opportunities that might otherwise not be there. For example, I would love it if Microsoft bought Capcom and then rebooted the Breath of Fire franchise.
Jeez.
And probably the only person on this podcast right now is like a Breath of Fire stan. But I love that bloody franchise, and I feel like the only way for it to ever be revived is through a service like Game Pass. You know, honestly. And when you look at franchises like StarCraft, for example, I feel like the only way that it's going to come back is as if Activision's part of Microsoft. You know, and Phil Spencer pretty much name-checked StarCraft as evidence. But at the same time, there's also like there's not a huge amount of evidence that Microsoft will do that, because okay, we got Age of Empires, right? We got Age of Empires as a nostalgic franchise, but where's Lost Odyssey? Where's Killer Instinct? You know, there's still a lot of question marks over the Xbox strategy, especially from a nostalgic perspective. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's fun. It's just fun to imagine what can be, and I think that's why Xbox fans are very interested in acquisitions.
Yes. Childish Bambino says, Rand, saw a story on Reddit about Activision charging for map packs on Modern Warfare 2. Think they'll go back to that model? I mean, I thought that model was dead and buried. Like, people didn't want the, breaking up the communities anymore. Everything was free, even though you sort of get less of it. But yeah, the rumor is that they're going to be basically next year. Maybe it has to do with the fact that there is no COD game next year, so they need some sort of revenue. And I still think Call of Duty is maybe the one franchise that could sell map packs, that they're going to sell all these old ones. So I guess, you know what? What's old is new again. They haven't done this in a while, so maybe it'd be new to people. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. We'll see if it actually happens. But it might simply be because they need some revenue buffer, because they aren't going to be having a new Call of Duty game next year. Beer Baron says, Rand, who's your go-to Mortal Kombat character? I mean, back in Mortal Kombat 3, it was Cabal. I also liked Liu Kang. Scorpion was always good. Sub-Zero was pretty damn good, but I was always pretty good with Cabal back then. Let's see. What other questions do we got? Let me just keep on scrolling. Goat Review says, ABK, Marvel, Disney re-release old games for sale as well as Game Pass, since Microsoft and Bethesda are working with Disney for Indiana Jones possibility. Are they working? This is something we'll just have to wait and see. We still don't really have any information that says Microsoft isn't all about owning the IPs that they make, because the Indiana Jones thing, while a licensed property from Disney, was something that they inherited from buying Bethesda. And one of the issues that we talked about even months and months and a year ago about Warner Brothers games, and why everybody was nervous about buying it is because the people didn't want to license IPs. And I think Xbox doesn't really want to do that either. So I guess it would... maybe they would if one of their studios really wants to work on something. Like if Indiana Jones is a hit and Bethesda and you know, Machine Games wants to keep on doing Indiana Jones games, they probably would be able to. I don't know. I just personally don't really see Xbox doing a lot of licensed property games from Marvel or Disney, even though like it definitely seems like they're willing to give those out to everybody. Gary Sanchez says, when do you expect the Xbox and IO Interactive game to be revealed? Well, it depends. Is Xbox doing the 12-month thing again? Because that throws a wrench into the bucket, as Jez would say, right?
As Jez would say.
As you would say,
thing,
yeah.
buddy.
Right. I mean, we've seen IO come out and say they don't really expect any revenue until like 2025. And Xbox has enough games that they've announced that are like super out there, right? Like years and years away. That do you really want to add another one to that list? Because if that game's not 2025 or 2026, there's no reason to reveal it now. So you probably won't see it for a couple years.
Yeah, the Project Dragon is very ambitious. Like, and sure, maybe I've got the original design document for I've got the original design document for Project Dragon, and the design document that described there is very ambitious. That doesn't mean necessarily that the final product is going to be that ambitious. You know, things get sort of removed and pared down, and sort of, you know, they're kind of like, well, we cut this, we'll cut that, you know, because it's not necessarily the reality that they're able to hit all their design targets. But their North Star for Project Dragon was very, very ambitious. And, you know, to use quotes from the design document, a Diablo, World of Warcraft, MMO, you know, fully online with social hubs and dedicated servers and Azure and all this kind of stuff. So it's a very, very ambitious kind of connected action RPG. It's kind of what they want to build. With that in mind, it leaked very early to me, and frankly, IO Interactive leaked it themselves because they put it in their job listings that we're recruiting for Team Dragon, I think it was. So, you know, kind of put me in a position of no choice. Well, if you're going to leak it, then I'm going to leak it. But I think it could be a long time before we see that game, because when it leaked was basically when the project had been approved. Project had started. So I leaked that last year, right, Rand? If I want to say 2021. So 2021, I would expect at least 4 years development, but it honestly could go longer. You know, maybe we'll see that announced in 2024 and then launch in 2025. But it could be even longer. You know, maybe this is like their ultimate game, their magnum opus that Microsoft invests a huge amount of money in because they want to really, you know, make a true next gen MMO kind of experience. And you know, it hopefully could be worth the wait.
It seems like I'm getting this message on YouTube that it's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. I don't know how that's... Yeah, because I can see it on my end that it looks like it's stuttering after a few seconds. So... but OBS says it's all right. Nothing's wrong on that end, so it's got to be just either YouTube or my internet. I don't know. Is it? How's it on your guys' end? Because I'm looking at it on my end and it's basically not doing so well. So we might have to like wrap it up here. Humdrung says on Compulsion's Game Awards 2023 launch. Maybe. I mean, they've been working on that game for a while. It's possible they reveal it at the Game Awards and launch it next year. Who knows, bro? Who knows about Xbox's internal marketing stuff? I mean, or their release schedules. I don't know. I'm not going to say, like, I expect certain things because you never know with You never know what's going to happen, right? And Hargeet says, Jez, nothing stops Xbox from funding a Breath of Fire game without buying them. They're probably doing some games like that from Japanese publishers. Potentially.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, now YouTube says everything's fine. So, I mean, it was just a slight hiccup, I guess. Jim Brown wants to know if everything going on with Twitch, could Microsoft bring back Mixer? Absolutely not. They don't own Mixer anymore. They sold the copyright and all that stuff to Facebook.
Nah, they didn't. They didn't sell the copyright to Facebook
or whatever.
They didn't. They just did a deal to transfer the users to Facebook. They didn't sell.
Whatever. Mixer's never coming back. Never coming back. All the employees got.
It might come back.
No, it never.
It might come back.
It will never come back.
Come on. Don't say never.
I will put my foot down and say never. There's no reason to say I don't know or whatever. This is like literally never going to happen. Ever going to happen. Microsoft will never bring back Mixer. Ulfric says, Bethesda revealed that Deathloop is connected to the Dishonored universe. What do you think will be next for the franchise? Yeah, I did see that today. It's super cool.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I have no idea what's next for the franchise because we don't know what Arcane's doing. We know they got Redfall, and I wonder if Redfall is connected to Dishonored and Deathloop's world. Is Arcane Leon going to be doing a Deathloop 2 that maybe has a potential crossover between the games or something? Is Deathloop in the future? Are the powers that you have in Deathloop tied to the Outsider that gave you the powers in Dishonored? Questions that have to be asked, and we don't know the answers to it. Jez?
Yeah, I would rather see them make a Dishonored 3, but I am fully aware that I am saying that as someone who hasn't even completed Dishonored 2. So. It's I love Dishonored 1, but I've got this sort of like backlog shame of not having completed Dishonored 2. I want to see Prey 2, man. Prey is one of my favorite games of all time, and it feels like, to use Rand's expression, Reddit is stepchild of Arcane's games.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? You know who owns the trademark for Mixer? Facebook.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
Did you lock that up?
Kamina Tong just DM'd me in the Discord and says, yeah, he's got the link here and everything. Facebook owns the trademark for Mixer. So, bruh, you were saying, bruh? You were saying, bruh?
No. Why? Oh, pain. That's horrible news.
Great news.
That is horrible.
It's great news.
It's
Mixer's never coming back.
About?
It's never coming back. So it doesn't matter that Facebook owns Mixer now? No, of course not. Never coming back.
Okay, fuck. Okay, you punished me enough.
Oh yeah, and I will continue to punish you. Jim Brown says, "What are you expecting? What are you expecting for Minecraft Live next week?" I didn't even know there's a Minecraft Live next week. I don't keep up with that stuff. Are you expecting anything for Minecraft Live, Jez?
I'm expecting a new mob because they're doing a mob vote. And I'm also expecting the new update for Minecraft, which is pretty much what they announce every time they're doing Minecraft Live. But I will say, Rand, that they are also working on another Minecraft game. That isn't Minecraft Legends and isn't Minecraft Dungeons. I also have no idea what it is. But I do know there is another Minecraft spin-off in development right now. Could it be announced at this show? I don't know. Might be a little bit too early. But yeah, expect more Minecraft spin-offs, if nothing else, at this show. But it might be too early. But at least you'll find out what the next update is. What do you want the next Minecraft update to be, Rand?
I mean, I don't really care. It's interesting, you know. We're almost going on 4 hours. We had 900 people at hour 4 listen to us talk and BS, and then the stream problems happen. And I'm looking at the analytics. It literally dropped to 900 all the way down to 450. So now we only have like 450 because the stream sort of took a big dump. But yeah, I think that's it. 4 hours is. I mean, Jez was joking about 5, but we almost got 4. So I think this would be a great time to end it. I think I talked about everything I really wanted to, except for the CD Projekt roadmap. I totally forgot. They're making a Cyberpunk sequel, a new Witcher trilogy, and a new IP. And maybe we'll talk about it next week because more transparency. People, you put out there you wanted Xbox to be more transparent, but yeah, I guess I totally just spaced on that one. But yeah, we will be back next week on October 14th with another show, hopefully Friday. In the meantime, Patreons, be on the lookout for a post from Jez. We most likely will be doing an exclusive show on Tuesday. At the same time as regular, so be on the lookout for that. You can always sign up at patreon.com/XB2. And thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring the show as always. Well, not as always, because they only do a couple times a month. But you can always use the code XB2 if you want to buy some Manscaped products to help support the show. It'd be great. It's greatly appreciated. We love each and every one of you. And yeah, with that, we'll see you next week. Right, Jez?
Hell yeah. Take care, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And sign up for the Patreon.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to the Patreon sponsor, Achievement. And we will see you next week. Keep it gaming, guys. Later.
Bye.